Hi, good evening, everybody. It's Tim Kelly, Multi-Claim Guru. With tonight's session to the Refinishers crew just on business startup, business development, and a bit of business growth. Hopefully part way through, as long as she can make it, because I know she's a bit tied up at the moment. I've got a guest coming on called Jenny Vidaz. Jenny owns a company called Aspire Accounting, and they're a world-class accountancy, is the short way I can think of actually phrasing it. They're multi-award winning, is probably a better phrase for them. They are superb, and in terms of the actual information they're giving from a financial side of it, understanding what you need to run a business, set up a business, fund it, and then also how to work out what you need to do for your own future life developments by way of taking money out of your company and putting it into pensions and things like that. They're great in terms of the information they can help you with, and also they'll go through things like whether you need to be a sole trader or a limited company and the pros and cons to doing it. So hopefully she should be joining us later on. I'm expecting to be here sometime, probably I think maybe about 8 o'clock-ish, something like that. What I wanted for you guys tonight was, I appreciate there's quite a various mix of people within the Refinishers crew. One of the things that I did last week when I did the training session was I invited Chris Weeks on. And one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to actually do it for Chris's benefit so that he can see that in terms of the people who are in the industry, they aren't all, small, medium enterprise businesses or big enterprise businesses where we've got work coming in all the time from insurance companies or they're established. I wanted him to see the actual cutting side or the cutting edge side of people coming into the industry and what obstacles you have in place of you. As part of doing that, that's one of the reasons why I did the introductions, but regretfully, the introductions went on too long. It meant that I couldn't actually cover the content I like to have covered for you. I've had quite a few requests to help people in terms of business planning. Where do you start with that, which is what we're going to go through today. People generally from the industry come from being on the tools, go from the workshop and think, you know what, I'm going to work for myself. I'd like to have my own business and develop it, and then they generally go in feet first with no planning. The part we're going to do tonight is I'm going to give you a basic idea of a general startup. I also appreciate quite a few of you are established businesses, so I'm not going to concentrate too long on startup businesses, but I will cover it because the fundamental parts of planning your business are imperative to the success of it later on. If you just blindly wander into it and think that, hang on 1 second. Just letting somebody else in, won't be 2 ticks. So yeah, most people come in for the industry and just walk straight into it and think, though, what I'll do is I'm going to work for myself. I'll get a unit, I'll start up, and then they'll generally rely on walking custom and then slowly develop the business from that. Now, in not planning your business correctly, it stunts your growth. Now, before you start any business, rather than just kind of wander straight into it, this is the reason why I need to have a business plan. Before you do a business plan, it's all about doing the research. You want to, and this doesn't just kind of relate to the molten industry, irrespective as to the business that you're in. You want to make sure there's a need for it, first of all. You want to work out that there's profit potential in it, because if there's no profit, there's no point doing it. You just end up with an expensive hobby. You need to look at what you do in terms of startup cost, what things you'll need to set up the business, what funding, what financing, where you get your products from, the best means of procurement. So we're going to go through all these bits of individual bits. If, for example, you have something like an online business, things that aren't important is location. And the types of business that you guys got, it's a key part of what you do is the location of where you are. Now, if you're on a large industrial estate and the actual rates for the unit are cheap, that's great. And it could be that it affords you some type of scalability in the actual unit you've got, but it might also mean you've got no passing trade. So another key part of running a business is the actual advertising and marketing side of it, which again is something we'll go into, and we'll get into the branding side of it. In fact, I might even bring John Thompson into that bit if he's kind enough to kind of jump in later on, because that's where he is the king of it. King of marketing and advertising, is great for it. So if any of you guys need assistance on that side of it, I'm sure he'll help there some way. Well, certainly location. So things what you need to be in is that again, most businesses, what they'll do is, from a body shop point of view, is they might just start up from a small unit, small garage or something like that, start developing a business, but then they might not change for 5 years or 10 years, and they're wondering why they're not making any money or why they're struggling. So you need to have an idea, but you also need to set goals of what you want. Now, these goals that you've got, you need to think long term. So do you have a life goal? So if you've got a life goal, what is it? So do you want to retire by the time you're 50? Do you want to retire by the time you're 60? Do you want to be in a situation where you've got multiple income streams coming in, you've got various types of business, you don't just own a body shop, you might also be able to fund something else as a result of the profits you're making out of it. You could buy property, commercial property, or you might have invested money wisely. You want to have it so that you end up where in 20 years time you can actually have your staff do a management buyout and they buy you out of it and you still manage it and get some type of profit at the end of it for them running it. So you need to work out what you want to do as an out, which sounds totally counterintuitive. So do you want a business that runs £500,000 a year, £1 million a year, £10 million a year, £100 million a year? Now, the thing is with business planning is the first thing you need to remember about the business plan is plans don't need to stay as they are, they can change. So if things happen within the development of your business, because you might find opportunities arise out of it, you can factor these things into your business plan and it might help you grow in different ways. So the first thing we're going to look at is in terms of, in creating a body shop, what things do you need? So before you even start off with a body shop, what things should you be looking at? Now, I said the key thing to this is the location of the body shop, but what you want to also be doing is looking at the research in your area, looking at the local demographics. If everybody in the area drives a Volkswagen or an Audi car and you set yourself up as being a Ferrari specialist, you're probably going to go bust. They might be done in the area. If you set yourself up as a Ford franchise specialist, everybody's got a VW, you might get a few different types of work, but not an awful lot. And you'll certainly find it hard to compete against other people who may be VW branded specialists in the area. So what you need to do is do research and look at the local demographics. The first thing I'd be doing is look at what type of dealerships are in the area, what brands are prevalent, what vehicles are getting sold on the forecourts. The area where you live, does it have a large volume of people in it or a small volume of people in it? And part of what you then want to do is look at the marketing side of it, of how you approach getting that customer in. Now, at that point, you kind of need to leave that there and put it in pause for one side for a second. The next thing then is that the key thing that restricts you in terms of business startup is generally financing. Now, compared to other types of business, if, for example, you've got an online business, you might need no funding or financing at all whatsoever. Now, the one thing you've then got is you've got a mixture of two different things. You could either spend money to set up a business and have people help the startup, or alternatively, you can do it on your own. So you've got a counterbalance of both time and money. Now, if you've got pots of money, then pay somebody else to do the things that they're experts in that you're not, because it'll save you bags of time, bags of money in the end of it. If you've not got bags of money, then you need to teach yourself how to do all these things that you need as a prerequisite of running a business. Now, the one thing that people don't tell you about running a business is that you're not just now a body shop repairing cars, you are now a business owner, you're a marketeer, you're a business planner, you're an accountant, you're the shop foreman, you're the brusher upper, the tea maker. There's such a broad spectrum of things that you end up doing that you might not even or have thought you could be doing. But any area where you don't have expertise in it, whether you think you need to know that or not, is kind of the wrong thought process. Because I will guarantee you, whether you're an expert or not, you need to actually, at least the very basic side of it, understand the basic fundamentals related to it, so that when you do trust somebody to do those things for you, you understand what it is they're doing and what value for money you've got. Now, that could be by way of an accountant. So I said, hopefully later on, I can bring Jenny in. I'm going to be chasing up in a second to see where she is. But from my side of it, when I first started off in 2014, I had no ideas of how to run a business, no idea how to set it up, what I needed to do for funding, marketing, advertising. So all of these things were new. Now, at the time, I was limited on my budget. I had 10 grand to actually start my business up and to fund my own life for a year. So I was on a very tight budget, and everything I did, I worked on the basis of, can I spend the time or the money? Now, the short version is I pretty much didn't spend that much money. I spent all of that time in that first year, 2 years, learning all the things that I'm talking about now, what I can pass on to other people. So I made myself an expert in marketing. I made myself an expert in research, because to pay for other people to do it costs you a fortune. And if you haven't got the funds, you have to do it yourself. So touching on individual aspects of running a business, the thing that you also need to be thinking of is that the key to success is that if, for example, you are doing something like marketing or advertising, you need to make it part of your working day. So not only doing it like as part of your working day, it needs to be part of working every single day that you do, doing it. So not just thinking it, doing things gets things done and makes things work. Thinking about it is great, but nothing happens at the end of it. So you need to take action on what your thoughts are and what your plans are to work towards your goals. But if you don't know what your goals are, it's like not typing in a destination in your sat nav and just driving for the fun of it. You know, it might be a lovely journey, but it doesn't get you anywhere. So you need to have a destination in mind and set goals on that pathway to help you get to the end goal of what you want. So doing this research, you find a location for your body shop, you like your demographics, you think there's a great load of custom there that you could do something with. Will these people buy your product? And also, would they prefer your product over somebody else's? So, you know, is there competitors in the area? So do market research on your competitors. Now, you might think that all body shops are the same, but they're not, because you've got small body shops, medium body shops, big body shops. You've got some that specialize in doing smart repairs, some that will do PDR stuff for nothing else, some that will do alloy wheel refurbs and maybe smaller bits of painting. You might get some that are doing larger repairs, but they've not got a jig, they're not got a puller, something like that. And then you might get a bigger type of organisation that has access to everything you can think of by way of ADAS equipment, recalibration, EV stuff, anything, you know, they're massive. Each one of those different businesses has a different competitor, because the large business that has all the resources and all the staff trained up won't be scared about parading a shed down the road. Now, the thing that frustrates me mostly when I see comments on the group where people say about how much do I charge for this, which just frightens me. But also that, you know, you have to compete with the person down the road who does it cheaper. Now, the one thing I can guarantee you is that when you start on a race to the bottom, I'll guarantee you'll find it. So if you start competing on price, you're just going to end up bust. And all you're doing is prolonging your death of working in the industry, which I know might sound grim, but that's exactly what you're doing. You need to design your business in such a way where you've got some type of unique selling point. You need a differentiator. You need something that shows that you're different than the other people around you. Now, this could be that you are literally threading a shed down the road. That could be your unique selling point, because you don't have the overheads and you don't require the capital that other businesses have got. And you can afford to do a cheap job and you still might have loads of profit in it. But the issue with that is that if you continue doing that and you don't design a way of how to grow your business, you can't stay doing that all your life, because it'll limit what you could do as an earning potential. So you need to focus on how to develop that business later on, which is what we're doing. So establishing that businesses are different, and you've looked at your location, you've looked at your local demographics. What you're then also looking at then is, with that custom that you've got, what equipment and what resources do you need to operate that business? So this all now formulates part of your business plan. So what you want to be doing is literally documenting this as a whole scope of what you're doing. So where the work is, where the location is, what research you've carried out. Now you've got this business. Is it a small premises? Is it a large premises? So if it's a large one, for example, do you need one ramp? Do you need two ramps? Do you need three ramps? So do you need different bays? Do you need enough space for a spray booth? Have you just got it so that it's a small location and you've got a wraparound like blanket ramp to form an area where you can paint in it with extractors on it? Are you doing it so you don't need a low bake, so you might be using UV primers rather than actually baking paint off? Or you could actually have, you know, quick activating paint, so it's reacting quicker, so you don't need to bake it. Or do you have a booth that, you know, you've got a downdraft booth where you need to cut out into the floors of the actual unit you've got, and then there's potentially there's a potential there for the owner of the unit to say, if you change our property in any way, you need to restore it back to how it was when you give it back to us. So is it going to be a short-term thing where you're going to stay there for 5 years and then expand and have that in the back of your head? Or is it somewhere where you never intend to move? You know, how do you design your business from scratch where it's big enough to cope with the scalability of what you want to do in the future? But you need to then look at what equipment you want. But then it's not then just the equipment, it's, do the staff have the prerequisite qualifications and experience to be able to operate the equipment you've got? So again, a good example might be a jig, or it could be to do with wheel refurbishes. It might be that you do sandblasting, stuff like that. So in doing that, do you need to have some type of environmental licenses whilst you're operating the business? So is there something whilst you operate in that area where you work, where part of the council legislation requires you to have certain certifications? So if, for example, you own a restaurant, it could be that you need different things from a health and safety point of view, but also from food hygiene. Does the same apply to the type of business that you've got as well? So each one of these things, you need to be looking at what is a potential risk to your business and what things you need to do to overcome the risks. So looking at the size of the business you've got, again, what you then need to actually then look at is what amount of work do you need to have coming into that business to be able to pay your overheads? So if you're a one-man band as spreading this shed, then your actual operational cost is going to be quite low. If you're in a unit that's 40,000 square feet, you're going to need loads and loads and loads of vehicles passing through that business. One, to pay the actual operating cost of it, but then you also then need to think about in terms of the amount of staff you're going to need to do it, because you're not just going to need staff actually on the workshop floor. You're also going to need people in an office to cover the administration side of it. People in the administration side of it are not earning profit, but they're part of the operational costs. So you need to factor their cost in terms of the overall cost of your business. So again, all of these things, you need to then work out, how do you earn profit? Now, in looking at what you require as part of that business, the other side of it then is in terms of your procurement. So we've got a big unit as an example. We might have 4 staff in it. So it's going to be quite a big place to heat up. The first thing I'll be doing is look at my utilities. So the utilities I've got, do you just kind of blindly go in there and just say, I'll sign up with anybody? Or do you try and find the best deals for whatever resources you need within the business? So within the utilities, if you go through different providers, so you find your best one. Paint material suppliers. So you know that you're painting cars, so you know you're going to be using lots of paint, and you also know you're going to be using lots of substrates within the actual process of repairing the vehicles. Have you gone around various motor factors or suppliers and worked out the best deals? Now, things you got then got to look at in terms of the actual size of the business you've got is that, do you find somewhere where you're buying all your products from and they offer you a massive discount, you buy absolutely shed loads of them? But then you're tasked with storing those things in your building and it's taking up space. So are you making the maximum amount of profit and benefit of the space that you've got? So do you buy things just in time? So you buy it as and when you need it, and then as on the basis of you running out, you then restock it? Or do you buy things in bulk and then it's always there and you've got a bigger discount? Could it be that you actually cooperate and participate with other businesses in your areas that are also body shops, and you get together and get some type of group discount? All of these little things where you can get small incremental gains, which is something James Clifford's a massive fan of, in terms of he applies it from the estimating side of it, but it actually applies to any aspect of your business. Finding small incremental gains in your business, and they all add up, and it can make a massive amount of difference to the product, well, the profitability. Looking at your staff. So we now know, we say, for example, you've got 4 staff. Are you looking at getting different types of work and the different types of work you need? For example, would you need to be BS 10125 qualified? So, or have that accreditation as part of running your business? Now, that might mean that you now need ATA accreditations for all your staff. So you need an ATA vehicle damage assessor, an ATA MET guy, ATA panel guy, ATA paint guy. So as part of that accreditation process, again, that's an incumbent part of the business. It's costing the business money to get the accreditations, but it could potentially have an end payout if it gets your contracts on the basis that those work providers want you to be BS 10125 qualified. But again, it's all a factor in terms of running the business. Now, when looking at the business, I'm just going to give Jen a quick shout as well. I'm just going to see if she's free yet. Because if she's not, I'm going to swap the routine around. So whilst we're looking at that, knowing your figures, and this is why I was going to try and key her in, because hang on, right. I won't be 2 seconds. I'm just flicking around in the background. Right, cool. I'll get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Right. So another key part in running the business. So we know your size of your business, what staff you need, what tools you've got, what profit margin you need to apply to the products you're using. A lot of focus within the industry gets put on labour rates, and labour rates are a key part of it. And what we'll do is we'll look at in terms of establishing what labour rate you should be using as a bare minimum, as a break-even rate. So we'll look at the operational cost of your business and break it down for the amount of productive hours you spend a month in the business, and what labour rate would be your break-even rate to cover your costs. But part of what you can also then do is, aside from actually focusing on the actual labour rate, is that you can look at the actual amount of products you use, break it down from what it's cost you, and technically what you can charge out, and you can use the profit made off your paint materials and substrates and things like that, and actually use it as a tool to buffer up your labour rate. So sometimes it might be that it would appear that your labour rate is quite low, but in conjunction with other things that you provide as a service, it might mean that potentially the actual recovery rate of money you're getting in is higher than what you might expect. So we're going to look at the different tools that are available to you. I'm just going to share some screens for you. One of the things I'm going to look at is in terms of, you need to know what money you've got going in and what money you've got going out. So I'm going to look at a cash flow forecaster. John Thompson, I think you'll love me a bit because I'm going to use one of your tools as well, because John very kindly gave me some tools a few years ago, which are very useful. One's a body shop hour calculator. And then if my screen decides to work, there's also another one that functions on what type of volume of work you need coming in. Now, this tool that I've got on screen, again, I'll quite gladly share it up to all of you. But it's key that you know that what money is coming into your business. So can you all see that okay? So what I'll do is I'm just going to, now you lot have all gone minimize whilst I've just jumped into it. So I'm just struggling to see. So can you put your thumbs up if you can see a white screen that's an Excel spreadsheet? Great, thank you. So what we've got a spreadsheet looking through in terms of what your actual operational spend is a month. And you could use this as a means of start before you even start a business up. So as long as you're doing your business plan, you look at what costs are involved in the business by way of your rent, your operational cost, your utilities, your staffing, how much you're paying them, other things that you need to do in terms of licensing fees. It could be a license fee for Auditex as an example, what you're spending in terms of administration. So you want to factor in all these different things in terms of your actual operating costs. This can also apply to your own personal costs as well, because you might operate as a limited company. And as part of being a limited company, you might think, well, what I'll do is I'll pay myself by way of dividends at the end of the year. I'll pay myself a minimal amount. So what I'll do is I'll pay the lowest amount so I don't have to pay income tax. I'll just pay the bare minimum in terms of national insurance contributions. It could be about £1,000 a month. But then you go through your personal details and you find out by way of your mortgage, your rent, your gas, your electric, your tax, your car, and all the rest of it, that you can't afford to do that on that basis. Or it could be that you, because of that, you know what your expenditure is, that you might take a director's loan and split your dividends up from the end of the year over 12 months to boost your pay up. So tools like this are really powerful and beneficial. But identifying what your cost is will help you understand what you need to charge out. Now, as a means of what you need to charge out, so this is what Mr. Thompson provided me a long time ago. So thank you, John. And what we have is a calculator looking at the amount of productive hours your staff are doing a day. Now, the thing you need to bear in mind is the fact that you've got staff that might be productive or unproductive. Now, if you're a one-person business, what you've also then got to consider is that you're working through the day, but everything you're doing is not productive, because you are quite literally spinning all of the plates. You know, you're working on a car, painting a car. In the office, you might be doing the estimating, the accountant, say you're also doing the marketing, answering the phone, chasing people up. Now, stereotypically, if you're a one-man band, it's highly inefficient and you might end up being very stressed for not an awful lot of money. And the reason being is that you're doing tasks that somebody else could be doing for you while still trying to pay yourself what you get paid for whilst you're repairing the car. So one of the things you need to consider is, are there things that are involved in operating the business that other people could do whilst you're repairing a vehicle? Now, if that is something like administration, there are other companies out there that can do these tasks for you. It could also be something like phone calls. Now, within my business, if you try to get hold of me on the phone, unless I know you and I work with you, you won't get hold of me. Now, the reason why I do that is I make you communicate with me all by way of my website. Now, the reason why I do that is that in general, when I'm dealing with consumers, the type of queries I get are fairly consistent. So what I do is I have pre-populated templates that I apply so that when somebody asks me a question, rather than me having to type it out every single time, I can just put the template in, bang it back and fire it back. If I spent time on the phone answering those queries, I get nothing done. To spend all my time on the phone explaining the same things to every single person, and generally at the end of it, they say to me, can send it to me by way of an email. So I create processes in the background that allow me to do things efficiently. Now, in what you guys are doing, you also need to be doing the same things, because having a process of how you repair a vehicle from start to finish is something that's really important. Not only that, if you have employees in your business, they also need, first of all, they need a contract of employment. So you need to specify what their job roles are and what their expectations are of them. But also in that job role and what their expectations are there other things within what they do as part of the working day that you want them to do? So it could be that you might want them to clean the workshop every morning, and do they do it on a rotational basis because you need to make them responsible? Is it that somebody's responsible for looking after the pressure washer, or the paint booth, something like that? So having something there where they understand what their roles and duties are an employee is a massive thing. Now, you all might think you're competent at what you're doing repairing a vehicle, but what you also need to think of is that when you scale up, there needs to be other people doing them roles, and you quite literally need to be explicit again in terms of the instructions of what you provide them, and have a written process down for every single thing they do. Now, that might sound quite lengthy and hard work, but what you're actually doing as well is you're also creating an audit process. So if you don't have a consistent process in the way you actually operate, either by way of a business or repairing a vehicle, what you're actually telling me is that you're designing inconsistency into the actual process you go through, or the product that might be arrived at. Because it could be that if you repair a car and I repair a car, and I've worked with you for years, we might get a different result at the end of it. So making sure you have documented processes in each individual aspect of the repair process will provide consistency, but it will also give you quality of repair as well. I'm just going to jump out of that. Now, being consistent and being efficient are good ways of making sure that you retain your profitability. But what you also then need to look at is also productivity. Now, in looking at productivity, again, you look at the amount of staff that you've got within the business. You've got people who might be unproductive because they're doing the administration side of it. So you've got to look at where the money's coming in and what's being paid for. So fundamentally, the money that's getting paid is for the actual labour operation of repairing a vehicle. That's what you're charging for. So you need to take into consideration the people that are carrying out services that aren't chargeable, or well, they can be chargeable, but generally aren't. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at what your break-even rate is. These tools that we've got here, I'll be passing to you. Just whilst I'm talking, I'm just going to, if you all can unmute yourself, because I'm just mindful of the fact that I've been talking for half an hour non-stop. I'm just going to open it up and just say, have you got any questions so far? It just gives me an opportunity to get a mouthful of info. Anybody got any queries? Anything you'd like to ask me? And I might just be cruel and just drag somebody in. Like I said, I was expecting Jenny to be on, but she's not. So knowing that Mr. Clifford's owned and operated a few body shops, and hopefully he's there somewhere. I knew he'd do that. He's neatly sidestepped that one. I'm all good, Tim. I was just going to drag you in. And just making sure that John's still alive as well, because you've got a green tick. Are you okay, John? Are you still there? Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, still here, Tim.
Nice one, mate. So do you want me to bring you in a bit to do about marketing later on?
Hey, can do, matey, but you carry on with it. I don't want to interrupt your call.
Yeah, no problem. No, just when I do my courses, they're open to anybody. They're free.
Okay, no problem.
So, no, anybody on the call can interject at any point, ask any queries on it. But it's also it's also nice to have people on the call who are experts in their own aspects as well. So if I see somebody like yourself or James or Mr. Lukins in the corner, then I'll just drag you in.
Well, what I'd say, Tim, if it's okay, is that rather than drag us in, if anyone's got any questions, I'll answer specific questions. It's such a wide topic to go through.
It is, yeah, it's quite a huge one.
Yeah.
I mean, what I would say is, if there's anybody on here who doesn't know what John Thompson does, like I said, generally I don't. On tonight's session, I wasn't going to do introductions on it, but it is beneficial to all just to know who John is. So, John, do you want to give an introduction about who you are and what you do?
Thanks, Tim. Yeah. Okay, guys. Been in the industry all my life, sort of that. From never worked on a shop floor. Let's get that the first thing. But I've worked and trained over 400 body shops over the years. Worked for most of the vehicle manufacturers. Worked for agencies, Thatcham. Worked for all the suppliers. Done body shop management training for everything from one-man bands to BMW. Set up a company called Body Shop Marketing 10 plus 12 years ago. Sole aim was to help body shops understand how they can benefit and become more profitable by doing some simple marketing steps, most of which have never been thought of before, because the work was just sent to us in my early days by the fax machine. So getting people to understand that they can control what type of work they want to do, who they want to do it for, how to go about getting it, the difference between approved stuff, the difference between how to get retail work, etc. Built up a bank of tools, worked with lots of shops, give tools away to use, work with people to show them how to use it. If required, I'll do the marketing for you, but I always avoid that because that's the most expensive one. I'd rather make you self-sufficient. So basically, that's me in a nutshell. Experience educating anyone from single band to franchise dealers on how to run a body shop, how to manage staff, how to employ staff, recruit, etc. Focus especially on marketing. So therefore, not a know-it-all, don't know all by far. We'll spend a lot of time researching, work with lots of individual shops and businesses. And guys, I'm just open to any questions. If I can help you in any way, shape or form, just ask the question. If I can help you, I will do. If I can't, I'll pass you on to someone I know. Okay?
Fabulous.
John, do you have a website?
No, close it down. There's a reason for that. 7 years ago, I had a rather bad health issue, central nervous infection, made me totally immobile. I had my wife and myself were directors of the business. We had to give it up to go through for it. I closed it down and decided to work literally I do now. I'm semi-retired, guys. So, I've got my granddaughter I look after, but I've got time on my hands to help people if you want. I'm sure I won't do this, but if Tim wants to share my details, my email address, phone number, I'm happy for him to do so. So rather than plug it, I'll leave it for Tim to send it to. If you want to ask me a question about anything to do with marketing or the business, if I can answer it, I will. If not, I'll pass it to someone who I know.
And just to let you guys, yeah, and just to let you guys know as well, like I said, so when I first started up, John was very kind and he actually allowed me access to some of his resources and tools. And some of the tools that I was going to use tonight as well are tools that John's designed. So he's very good at what he does. So it's a shame he's retired. I think he's just skiving himself. He's on the golf course all the time. But yeah, it's marketing's a key part of the business, and I am going to go into that in a bit a bit more depth later on. The way I was actually trying to plan tonight's session was to kind of build into the financial side of it. So that's where I'm going with it now. And my intention was to get Jenny at Aspire Accountants to go through the financial side of it. She just messaged me now as well to say that basically she's going to be on at around 9:15. So in about an hour's time. So I'm just going to alter the schedule of what I'm doing. So we'll go through some of the financial side of it as well. So I want to go through in terms of making sure that you understand what costs are involved in running a business and how to help you establish what your break-even rate is. Because if you don't know what your break-even rate is, then you don't know what to charge out as a retail rate. And I've actually got my sister on tonight's session as well. She's just saying she's finding an interesting thought-provoking session. So my sister's not in the industry at all whatsoever, but I've been talking tonight to her about starting her own business up. So I just thought it might be helpful to get an insight of what you need to do to run a business. What I would say as well, Lisa, is that the session that I'm doing as well, there's bits of it obviously won't be relevant to yourself, but there's bits where when the accountant comes on later on, we'll talk about whether it's be a sole trader or a limited company, but also how to actually maximise and make the best use of benefits of your cash flow coming in. The whole session's recorded all the way through tonight, so if you do shoot off later on, Lisa, then it's all recorded and I can actually identify snippets of things that you might find useful as well. But going into the financial side of it, I've explained about we now know where the business is, what you need to put into it, where you're buying your products and services from, looking at what markup you need to put on those products, looking at the actual labour rate you might need to charge out on that business, or where, you know, what rate you actually need to get in as a bare minimum to cover your operational costs. It's a question that often gets asked when people start getting stuck, in short, because there's a lot of businesses out there and certainly one-man bands who don't have an idea what their labour rate should be. They just charge out what they think they should charge, but they don't really understand what their actual operational costs are relative to the amount of money they're charging, so what the break-even rate is. Now, understanding your break-even rate, again, is a key point, because if you earn less than your break-even rate, you're losing money. If you earn more than your break-even rate, you're earning money. So let's look at it on a simple means of, if you've got one member of staff and you're doing a 40-hour week, so it could be a one-man band, so then you're doing 160 hours worth of work a month. Now, within that, what your actual cost going out, by the time you're paying your rent and for all your equipment, and then you're also paying yourself at the end of it, it might well then be that your spend per month could be £4,000 a month. Now, all you need to do to work out what your break-even rate is divide what your full cost is per month by the amount of productive hours. So productive hours are hours that are getting paid for. Now, the interesting thing about this is that even if you do a 40-hour week, it could only be that there might only be 20 of them that are actually earning your profit. So it could be the rest of the time you're not productive, because you might be doing your marketing, your advertising, you're chasing your accountant and all the rest of it. And all of these things start affecting where your break-even rate is. But working on the basis that you're 100% efficient and you're doing 40 hours a week, then if your cost was £4,000 a month, then your actual break-even rate is £25. So for every hour you work, you would need to get at least £25 in just to break even. Now, when you start maximising this and looking at a full year, and you're also looking at the amount of staff that you've got as well, what you also need to consider is that within a working year, you've got bank holidays, So in general, you've probably got 35 days a year for each person who works there, where by way of either holidays, bank holidays and sickness, they might not be attending. So just from a pure start, you're down. I'm just laughing at ants just in a camp. I kept bottom staring at me in high resolution. Tiny ants. Yeah. Cat takes the show over. Just by way of holidays and sickness, you'll find that you're about 65–70% efficient, which seems mad, but that's the amount of time where your staff aren't actually even being productive. Then you've got staff who aren't productive by way of being in the accountant side of it, or doing the admin, or answering the phone. Again, so you need to look at dividing their hours in with the productive hours to see where the break-even rate is. So all of a sudden, if you've now got one member of staff who's productive and one member of staff who isn't, then you're having your effectiveness. So your break-even rate jumps up massively. Your break-even rate in a situation like that, where you've got somebody who's, if you're spending double the amount of money and only getting paid half as much, then your break-even rate is probably going to go up to about £45–50 an hour. So as a basic idea, once you actually know what your break-even rate is, what you need to be doing is having some type of multiplier attached to it to then work out where your profit level should be. Now, in general, in the retail world where you were buying something and selling it, as a general rule of thumb, as a bare minimum, they'd be multiplying it by 2.5. So if you bought something back for 50 quid, then you want to be at least doubling it and probably a bit more. Now, in the world of being a body shop, technically you need to be much more than that as well, because like I said, there's so many areas of where you're not being productive, because it could be on the volume of static you've got and the volume of work coming in and administrative costs. You probably really need to be, even in a small body shop, you'd need to be on probably £50–60 an hour. Now, you do have the benefit of selling products as well by way of paints that you could do a markup on as well. So if your labour rate was actually artificially low because of the high cost of running your business, it could be that you could uplift it by making more profit on your paint materials or anything else you're selling. And what I'm going to go into from there, like I said, I was aiming to run through that and go through a cash flow forecaster with you, but I'm going to wait till Jenny comes in later on. So I want her to kind of dive into that side of it, because she's certainly more of an expert on accountancy and finances than I am. And what I'm going to go into is in terms of marketing. So I'm just going to, so just out of interest, have you all muted yourselves, or have I muted you? Because for some reason, Zoom is playing tricks tonight. So it showed me as you're all muted and I've not muted you, so I don't know what it's doing. So when we look, it's just so I can get some interaction. So I'm very conscious as well. It's just me speaking, it's very quiet. Now, once you know you're designing your business, what it's going to cost you, you need to understand then that you now know what your break-even rate is. You've got to have an idea in terms of what volume of work, based on that potential profitability it's going to gain you per job, that you're going to require to operate your business. But then only not operate, but actually make it so your business is going to earn and grow. Growth, again, is where you should be focusing on. So you don't want to just design a business that's going to be stagnant. You want to design a business that just doesn't sit there, but it actually starts flowering and developing and growing. So whilst it grows, you've got to work out how to grow it. And again, the key part to a business is you need to research things left, right, and centre. You need to absolutely work hard and find out where the money and the profit is. Now, one thing you will find that I say quite a lot within doing these types of sessions is that education is the key to success in what you're doing, and whether you surround yourself with, you need to surround yourself with successful people. Now, those successful people could either be friends or associates, but it could also be that it could be audio books, it could be stuff on YouTube, finding people who are successful in business that are people you want to be listening to. Now, one book I reference quite a lot is something called E-Myth. Now, if you haven't bought this book, or you don't have it as an audio book, buy it. It will give you the basic grasp of understanding of how to set a business up, but also not only on how to set a business up, it will educate you on how to set it up in such a way that allow it to grow. Now, what you find with a business, certainly in the situation where you're the only person working in it, which is the way I am at the moment, what you'll find is that I am the best and the worst thing about my business, because everything I do is so that everything I do goes through me. Now, the worst aspect of that is everything I do goes through me. Because I'm one person, I can only do so much. This is why you need to look at is there potential there for you to outsource? You also then need to look at the staffing side of it and recruit staff in, you get apprentices in. The more staff that you have working for you, as long as you have a steady income of work, this is where marketing is very, very important in it, which is why it's John Thompson's favourite topic. If you've got an abundance of work where you worked hard to get it in by marketing effectively and it's highly profitable, the more staff that you've got working for you, where you're charging the customer more for them to do the work than you're paying the members of staff, you'll earn profit. Now, things that you can do where, if you want to understand why there's businesses out there working at really, really crap labour rates and can't understand how to do it, here's an example. So if you've got a large, massive site and the break-even rate's £28 an hour, but you've got 400 people working there and they earn £20 an hour, as an example. If you're getting paid £30 an hour, there's a £10 differential there, but we know where your break-even rate is. So say, for example, the break-even rate to what you get charged, it's £3 profit per person. If you've got 100 people, you're earning £300 per hour. So all of a sudden, this poor rate at £30 an hour that doesn't make sense. If you've got 100 people working for you at that low labour rate, it's actually £300 an hour. And then if they're doing 40 hours a week, it's like 1,200 quid. So they're all, it's the efficiency of scale, but it's also in terms of having people in your profit and using that differential, but you can use it to leverage different aspects of your business in terms of the overall turnover, but it's also the efficiencies of scale because of how they're operating. Because it could be that you're then buying products for a cheaper price because you're buying in greater volumes. It could be that there's people doing specific tasks and you've got it run like a production line. So you're not got one person doing multiple different tasks because you're a small body shop. You've got people who are just specifically doing the individual thing, and then it goes from one stage to another, and it's very, very effective. But this is where this book is really powerful, because it outlines how to set up a business, how to create the individual roles, seeing yourself as basically the CEO, and looking at all the different roles you actually do and have throughout your working day, and then bringing people into those aspects of those jobs and outsourcing it to them, or even insourcing it because you employ them. But delegation, again, is something where it allows you, the more stuff that you delegate to people who are capable of doing it, allows you more time to work on your business. Because again, you all work on vehicles and you're all running businesses, but you're a business owner and you need to actually, it sounds counterintuitive because you go into the industry thinking you're going to repair cars for the rest of your life, but what you're actually doing is you want to be running a business and retiring. So working out how to make more money out of your business by being more effective, being more productive, the way of doing that is by having people do all the mundane tasks and all the physical tasks to allow you to focus on the business. This book is brilliant. This book is stunning. So this is the next one back on from it. It's another one, just started reading it. So again, another cracking book. If anyone wants any recommendations on books, I've got tons and tons of them, as you can see behind me. I've got a Read for England. A current book I just started reading is this one, and it's probably one of the best books I've ever read as well, which is absolutely fabulous. And part of what it is, it's about understanding not only about running a business, but it's also, a lot of it's to do with people and emotional intelligence and communication and relationships. And people think of leaders as being somebody who stands out and going, I'm going to lead you to do this. But it's actually, so it's very far from the truth. And what it is, it's about actually leading by example. Even for, you know, if you're kind to other people, the people who you work with, you'll probably be kind as well, because they look at what, they look up to you for doing whatever you're doing, and they'll copy your behaviors. If they see that you're diligent and you're hardworking and you want something to be successful, and they can see how hard you're actually investing in your business, then the chances are they'll get tied into it and want to help you. Now, if you involve the people in your business into the success of your business, and you make them part of your journey and allow them to achieve some success out of it by way of either, it could be working conditions, it could be by way of pay, it could be incentives, then it means that you've got staff working for you that's going to be engaged in your journey and will help you develop and it will help you grow. Now, this could even be down to the point of whereas I'm working with a company at the moment. The guy who's contacted me for training, his father is 70 and still working in the business. And he's very aware that there's only a finite amount of time where his father can operate within the business and help him. And he's wondering what to do and how to grow it. So I've been giving some advice to him. Now, it'd be awful for this person who's 70 to leave the industry and not pass on their skill set. But also there's a need there for, there's a productive member of staff leaving the company and that needs to be replaced. So one thing you could do is kill two birds with one stone there and bring an apprentice in. Now, what I actually said to him is you actually probably need 2 members of staff. You probably need an apprentice, and then that way you're sowing a seed that's going to flower and it'll develop it within your business, and you can actually control what they know and what skills they've got and how to help develop your business. You've also got the transference of skills going from his father onto that person. But you could also bring in a second member of staff as well to then do the productive work to make sure you've still got the productivity coming in to get the money coming in. Now, what you've started doing there, though, in doing that is that you're starting to develop a monster, because now you've got an extra 2 members of staff, even though we know that the father's going to leave the business at some point. You still need the work to be able to grow it, so you need to feed it. So how do you feed your business? Well, again, this starts right at the very start. Before you even start your business, you need to be able to market it in such a way, because you need to create an interest at such a point where people will want to come to you the instant you open your doors. If people don't know about you, who you are, and what you do, the day you open your doors, nobody will walk through them. So if you're starting a business, you need to be working on the whole business plan and all the marketing side of it at least a year before you start your business. Ironically, I didn't. I just waded straight in there and went for it, and that was it. And it took me ages to get my first customer. And it slowly morphed and developed. Part of what I did was going back to explaining how I started a business. I had no idea. What I would say to you is that I've still got like quite a few of you on with your videos off, so it's a bit hard to kind of interact with you. But what I would say is that how many of you are on LinkedIn? Stick your arm up. Cool. Thank you. So, nice one, Richard. Yeah, Mark over there. Yeah. So, the first thing you need to do is, I've got this little pop-up thing at the background. I should do a screenshot of this actually, because James has got his photograph on there of his thing there. He just put in the chat box. Yes, he has. But every time he does it, I just get this little bald head coming out the bottom of the screen, popping up and then bopping down again. It's really distracting. Sorry, James. So you need to look at what resources are available to you, and LinkedIn's an amazing one. Now, I've done a training session on LinkedIn, which is actually on YouTube, which if people know me, and they can probably guess it from tonight, I can talk for England. My intention was to do an hour training session on LinkedIn, and it morphed into 2.5 hours because the interest actually in the session made it morph. So I wanted to explain more of how to make the most of the benefits out of it. A good example of this, I'm going to take you full circle from start to finish on it. If any of you have seen what I put on the Refinishers crew today, you've seen that I put a post on there saying that I've had to let the cat out of the bag now finally, because I've been doing some work with Car SOS. So I'm on this year's season and I'm on 2 different episodes. 2014, 2013, I was working for Aviva and Multi-Claim Guru didn't exist. So purely from a marketing point of view, how have I gone from being an employee at a business to being on TV? And like last year, I was actually on stage at the Great British Motor Show being interviewed on stage by Car SOS. So that in itself is marketing and advertising, but it's not something that happens by accident. It's something that's been done, that's been calculated, I've been working out how to do it, how to speak to people, I've targeted certain people. I've made sure that I've got a path to get where I want to go. Now, I utilized, is your YouTube channel the same name, Most Claim Guru? Yes, it is. Yeah, you'll find me on that. And if there's anything in particular on there that you want to find, Ashley, I can send you links to it, and certainly the LinkedIn training. What I've done in the LinkedIn training is I've actually given you all the secrets of how to use it. And they're actually not secrets, it's just working out ways to make the best of a tool. So irrespective as to what the tool is within the industry you're in, the business you're in, if you don't know how to use it, you never get the best out of it. So whether that's working on a car or using LinkedIn, you need to understand what it is and how to operate it. Once you master it, it then becomes easy. So what I did with LinkedIn was I had no knowledge of it initially, and I started sending out requests to various people as a contact request and introducing myself. And I looked at who might potentially be able to benefit me. Now, people have got this thing in their head about LinkedIn that it's some type of professional Facebook, and it's not. LinkedIn is the best, most powerful tool you will ever have for your business. It's every contact you'll ever need. So if you needed a plumber, they'll be on there. If you need an absolute marketing expertise, expert, they're on there. John Thompson's on there, by the way. So is James. If you want somebody who's an absolutely fabulous trainer for VDAs, they're on LinkedIn. If you want somebody who will take you through the we are VDA to everybody, James, you are indeed. If you wanted somebody who would help you actually kind of look at the efficiency of your workshop and how to go through BS 10125, and we've got Phil Sheldon over there, so Phil QAC coaching. So you've got all these range of different people who are on LinkedIn and want to help you. Now, it could also then be that you're looking at people who might have contracts or businesses, or it could be council owners. I'm just going to be 1 second because Jenny's about to jump on as well. It could be, you've got a local council, and you might want to look at what vehicles the local council operates. It could be links within the NHS. Are there companies out there or fleets out there that you could service? Well, how do you find those people? Well, you can find them on LinkedIn. Now, what I did was, I won't be 2 seconds just whilst to do this for a second. Jenny. Sorry about that. So what I did was, when I first started off, I had no idea of what I was doing, and I had to design a website from scratch. I had to look at my own branding from scratch, and I needed to create an audience. So what I did was, the simplest thing you can think of, I put a post on LinkedIn and I said, I've got no idea of how to do this. How do I do it? Off you pop. Now, what happened was a young lady called Emily contacted me, and she went, rather than me tell you what you need to know and explain how to do it and then do it for you, what I'll do is, or what you actually need to do is, you need to read my thesis that I've just done. So I've just done my master's, and I've done it on social media and the effect it has within the marketing, the advertising side of it. Read through my thesis, and then if you follow that, then you're on a good path there. So if anybody wants to read this, I'll send it to you. It's called Living Through a Social Revolution. And this actual dissertation that she wrote was gold. It wasn't just good, it was awesome. I had no idea what to do, and I read through her thesis and I went, I'm having that, I'm having that, I'm having that, I'm having that. It then meant that when I structured my website, I could implement all the different things that she was saying within how she would actually present herself from a social media point of view, and how to gain audience, how to gain traction, what you need to do by way of participation. Having a platform where you have interaction is a massive key to getting your voice and your word, and people saying, get your vehicle repaired at such a place, or having that, people might say, well, you got word of mouth reputation. it's great when you've got people doing that for you, but you've also got to be careful of what they're saying about you. One thing you got about word of mouth reputation is that if they're saying you're great and cheap, that's all the work you'll ever get. You want to make sure that whatever they're saying is just that you're great and referring work to you. But having a social media presence that allows people to see what you can do, this is where presentation and branding is a massive part of your business. So if you're afraid in a shed and you're wondering why you're getting jobs coming through where you're busy but you're not making any profit and everything's coming through as like traders and stuff like that, it's because your marketing's not working. If you're thinking that you need to compete with Fred in the shed down the road, it's because your marketing's not working. No, like I said, if you race for the bottom, I'll guarantee you'll always get there. So if you're all fighting around for, the dribs and drabs of what's out there at the bottom, then that's all you'll ever do. So part of what you need to do is focus on what does your business offer? So what's your unique selling point? What differentiates you between your competitors, if there is any? Do you offer services that they don't? Can you maximize the profit you've got? Do you focus on a specific brand? Do you focus on restoration? Do you focus on doing stuff quick where they can? Key time. So this can also depend on the demographics of your local area, because it might be that you're in an area that's saturated by supermarkets. Well, if I lived in an area with supermarkets, I'd probably look at doing PDR stuff and smart repairs, because I'll guarantee that every car in the area's got dents and bumps all over it. That way I've got vehicles coming in, going out really, really quickly. I've got high profitability in it. I could maximize the efficiency in my workshop, getting them in, getting them out. Stuff like that is a no-brainer. It could be that nobody in the area where you operate in does any type of jig work. It might be that everybody else is a small body shop and can't afford to do bigger stuff. In that situation, so I know there's a gent called Colin Trouserdale who's on the panel group, and that's all he does. He doesn't do anything. So he doesn't paint cars. So he does do panel work, but not an awful lot. But all he does is jig work. So he's found something there where he's got a differentiator that separates himself away from other businesses, and that's what he focuses on. So identifying what you want to do as a business and what you operate. Now, what you need to look at within that is that, are there things that you currently do that don't earn you profit? So if you're doing something within your business where, you're painting a full car for 400 quid, and, you could be doing something different that earns you more money, should you be doing it? Because that's something else I see where quite common as well. So again, I did a training session with another gent. I've got Jenny coming in as well now, which I'll introduce her in a second. I did a training session with another gent, and part of when we went through his business plan was I found out he did powder coating, and he also did sandblasting. And he explained the actual operation of his business. He explained the structure of it. He also said they had a car sales place as well. He also did stuff where he was repairing salvage and doing that as side things. But the key side of what he thought he did was that he repaired vehicles. And he had a great reputation in the local area. There's only him in that local area that was doing stuff. And that's what he wanted to grow. When we looked at what his building size was, because he owned his building, so his operational cost was quite low, and we looked at the square footage of it and what tools and facilities he needed, and also the ramp and things, it wasn't productive. And then I focused on his powder coating side of it, and I went, well, what do you do with that? He said, oh, well, that's always busy. But he explained to me how much he charges out, and that he had a young lad working for him about 10 or 15 pounds an hour, but they couldn't keep up with the volume of work. So I looked at the efficiency of it, and I looked at the productivity of it, and I looked at the profitability of it. And I said, do you want to know what you want to do with your body shop? And I went, shut it down all day long, because that little thing in the corner over there is an absolute gold mine. I said, if you want to be scaling something up, I'd be scaling up all the powder coating and the sandblasting, because it's 10 times more profitable than your body shop. And he went, yeah, but I like repairing cars. So you kind of go like, it's crazy. So you need to look at what you want to do. Now, the thing you've got with the business is you need to look at it and think, do I have an expensive hobby? So keys to find out whether you've got an expensive hobby or not are, if you're doing something you enjoy and it doesn't earn you money, you've got an expensive hobby. If you're making profit, then you're a business owner. If you've got something that provides you multiple income streams because you're offering different services in what you're doing, you're a business owner. And that's the way you need to focus about all of it. Now, I'm just going to pause it a second there because I want to see whether Jenny can hear me. Okay, can you hear me, Jenny?
Yes, I can hear you. That's lovely to see you tonight.
Yeah, lovely to see you. Keep very quiet. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction to Jenny. But before I do that,
good evening, everybody.
so this is one of my contacts that I actually met through a business coach called Action Coach. And within the group of people that I was working with was Jenny from Aspire Accounts. And it's been great to see how she's developed her business and how she's grown it, but also in terms of, from speaking to her over the last 2 or 3 years, I've actually found out the benefit of having a good accountant. Regretfully, I don't even use Jenny. I've got a fairly good accountant myself, but I know from what Jenny said that Jenny really does know her onions, and if anything, she knows more than most accountants. And she's quite happy in providing information that will benefit you as a business. What I was doing, Jenny, before you came on was that I was explaining that the key part of running a business is understanding your financials and how important it is to know your operational costs, your break-even rate, your recovery rate of what money's coming in, what things can affect the efficiency of your business, but also what you need to do in terms of looking at potential investment, how to grow your business, and also as a director, whether how you can utilize funds from the business to help you. I didn't go into the pension side of it, so I'll leave that to you as well. But also, I said we might just touch on in terms of being on the sole trader side of it and limited companies, because there's some here that'll be sole traders. Some people might actually work for companies but want to have their own company. So I think having an understanding of different ways of operating as a business might be beneficial to them. But also, if you can just go into the financial side of it as well. So yeah, Jenny, over to you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's lovely to be invited onto this Zoom this evening. So thanks very much for having me. So I'm here just to let you know that some massive differences between a sole trader and a limited company as well. There's this urban myth as well that people think that you can't have a limited company until you're trading over a certain level. And it is an urban myth, that's all it is. So at any level of business, you can have that limited company open. And there's a massive difference between the two. The biggest one is the legal side of it. So it puts a complete divide between you and the business. So that you've got ability then to put a barrier between what happens with the business and what happens with your personal side of things. So for instance, if you're running the garage at the moment and you've got a couple of cars that you own, something goes wrong with the garage or somebody puts a claim in and the right insurance isn't in place, then somebody can come after your personal assets if it's only a sole trader business. Whereas when you've got a limited company, you're actually restricting how much you are personally liable for anything to do with the business. So it's a really good barrier as well, and it's good protection for you all just to be in that awareness, to have that limited company in place. So I think that's a massive benefit there straight away. Obviously, the other benefits are the tax saving benefits. There's absolutely loads. Like Tim just mentioned, pensions is certainly one of them. So as a limited business, you're allowed to put £40,000 a year as a tax allowable expense through the business. As a sole trader, that's not possible. So that's another 40,000 that can go towards your future of what it is that you're actually building. And don't forget as well that as a business owner or wherever it is that you are in your journey, you've got to remember that you've got to have a goal as well. Why are you doing what it is that you're doing? Make sure you focus on that completely and align yourself to that every single year. So if that is that you want to retire at the age of 55, what is your retirement plan? What does it look like? How much money do you want to save? So getting a pension through a limited company early is a really massive benefit for yourselves, and get that process started. If you haven't got one, I do urge you to set one up. You can set them up free through Nest Pensions as well. So that's it's a free pension support that they put in place. They also commonly use this as a workplace pension. So if you've got staff underneath you as well, then it's a really commonly used platform, and it's free to set it all up. Sometimes, you know, again, depending on knowledge base and things like that, you might want a bit of help with that. But otherwise, you can go ahead and set that up and attach it to your payroll. So it's a really good tax saving idea. Other ideas as well for tax saving as a limited company is health insurance. It's a massive one. with the NHS at the moment, there's like 7.2 million people in the waiting list to be seen for anything diagnostic. So you could be waiting quite a long time to be seen for anything. But with private healthcare at quite a low cost that can go through your business as a limited company, you will get seen within 48 hours. And then you'll go for any tests or anything that you need. A lot of the private health companies as well, we use Aviva. We use a broker to find the best rates as well in the marketplace. We also get dental care and optical care with that. Other private health insurance also have like Fitbits attached to it and things. So if you're quite athletic or you just love running or anything like that, then you can get a Fitbit attached to the private health scheme. And the better that you do with your health, the more rewarding your insurance provider is to you. So you also get a lot of cashback schemes attached to that. So you can earn a little bit of cash in your pocket as well. So not only is it a tax benefit, reduces your company tax, it's also really providing for your health, your welfare, your mental health, and you can put your staff on it again if you have staff. So I think that's a massive gain as well. Other things to consider when you've got a limited company is the perception that people have as well. So that's a massive play in any industry really, is most people nowadays really enjoy working with limited companies. They feel more secure about doing it. And it's quite cheap to set up a limited company. For ourselves, we charge £120 to set it up, completely compliant, and get you up and running with that within a 48-hour period. So it takes the stress away from yourself, and you've got that instantly. Obviously, just making sure that you've got the right insurances in place, public liability, and etc., to cover you for whatever it is industry that you're doing and whatever it is you're doing on a daily basis. Professional indemnity is another one. Other things to think about as well is marriage allowance. If you are married and one of you are not reaching the threshold of personal income at the moment, you can do a marriage transfer allowance. So that transfers up to 10% of your personal tax allowance each year. So for instance, just to get back to the basics on that, each person has £12,500 every year that you can earn tax free. If you're not using the full amount of that, or your partner, your husband or your wife isn't using the full amount of that, they can transfer it and you can transfer it. So the household income is then increased as well. Other things to think about as well, which is coming to an end pretty soon, is the capital super deductions. So if you've all got garages or something similar to that, then think about what equipment you've got in there at the moment. If there's any more tooling that you need, anything like this whatsoever. Sorry, I've got a cat in the background, I'm sorry. If there's anything like that you need whatsoever, again through limited company, the super deductions that you can claim on that at the moment is 130%. So what that means in terms of numbers is if you spend, let's say, keep it easy numbers, £1,000 on some more tooling that you need in the garage that's going to last you for more than 2 years, instead of putting that against your profit as £1,000 up to the end of March, so we're really close to it now, the HMRC friendly people that they are allowing £1,300 to go against your profit. So if your profit was £10,000 on a limited company, your net profit, you were getting taxed 19% on that. First, you would take 10,000 minus the £1,300, if that makes sense to everybody, and then get taxed at 19%. So again, it's a massive tax deduction that's allowable up to the end of this month. So my advice is go spending some money. So get in the shops and find out, get in your garages, find out what it is that you could do with. The qualifying criteria is plant, machinery, toolings, IT equipment. So that could be laptops, computers, iPads. If you need any furniture or anything like that as well for any offices, kitting out, then you can also spend on that and get the same allowances. So it's really good to take advantage of things like that while they're available. There is a lot of percentages changing, tax percentages. Sorry, I've got my little daughter popping down.
Can I ask a question on the super deductions?
Yes.
Is there, like, how far back can you go with that? If you bought stuff in the last year, whatever, like how far back can you claim for
So
that?
yeah, you can go 12 months in the current year that you're in, and if you are looking to go backwards and you've not previously claimed something like this, then you can look up to 3 years. So they first introduced it during COVID, the super deductions. So if you haven't claimed for it, I would highly suggest that you review what it is that you've got. Make sure you've got evidence of your asset that you've actually bought as well, and then put the claim through your CT 600. So make sure that it's on that information when you're putting your next claim in. You can amend a previous tax return that you've put in. So when you're doing your limited company accounts and you've built the tax calculations, you can amend that. However, I don't like waving red flags for HMRC either. So sometimes it's better to deal with it in the year that you're in, because they know and you know that you've not already claimed for that. So it's a really good idea to make sure that you do put the claim in at some point. But please make sure you do it before the end of this month. If your financial year ends after the end of this month, and obviously everything now has to be filed by Making Tax Digital, so that means everything's got to be filed online using software provided, then it will automatically calculate when you've put the asset into the company tax calculation, the dates. It'll automatically calculate whether you're enabled to claim for it or not based on the dates that you enter. Does that make sense? Fantastic, fantastic. So there is a massive amount of tax benefits available, but a lot more as a limited company. I mean, I'm a massive advocate of being behind a limited company, just because, again, the legal structure that's behind it, the perception that it gives, and the tax allowances and benefits that you can provide. In garages, again, depending on what you all do and things like that, MOTs are not taxable, as I'm aware, but all the repair side is. So you could have some of your business sorry, VATable, I mean, sorry. So you could have some of your business that needs to be VAT registered and another part that's not, so the MOTs go through with no VAT. But there is a lot of other benefits as well to get involved with. So have a look at the VAT side, urban myths around that as well. You don't need to reach any threshold to go VAT registered. You can go VAT registered as soon as you start trading if you choose to. A lot of benefits if you're buying a lot of purchases, a lot of materials, if you're buying off another body shop or anything like that. So thinking about what you're buying in, has it got VAT already on it, and is it worth claiming? Another little pointer on that as well is you can go back 4 years. So if you go VAT registered today and you've been operating for 4 years and you've got any stock or any assets that you still have, and you've got some evidence that that was VATable 4 years ago or up to 4 years ago, you can claim the VAT back on your first VAT return. So it's a massive point that a lot of people don't know about. Any questions so far?
Yeah,
Thanks, Deb.
going back to the sole trader, one-man bands that are in workshops. Now, I've spoke to 3 accountants and they all advise me to stay sole trader unless I'm going to start employing staff. What would you advise? What stage of business, at what level in the business do you then go? It's worth going from sole trader to limited, where you'll be more beneficial.
Absolutely, absolutely. So due to the tax rates and the legal standing, from my perspective on any business that I've given advice to so far, is you go limited straight away as soon as you start trading, because it's a much easier process to go straight into being a limited company. There's a little bit more tax work, but there's less tax cost. There's a little bit more filing required. However, there's massive gains to be had that you can't have as a sole trader. And when you come to have staff, as you want to grow, obviously, then it's a lot easier to set it up once, because if you set up staff on a sole trader and then you go limited, you've got to apply for a whole new PAYE account. You can get it transferred, but it can be quite complicated and messy. We've seen a HMRC and are not the best at swapping things over like that. So from my experience, I definitely would be considering as soon as you started. If you're already in business now, then I would consider having a serious look at going limited, because the benefits are not capped. As a sole trader, they're very capped of what you can put through the business.
But I would also say there, Jay, as well, is that, again, very similar to what Jenny said there, I'd recommend the same thing. From a liability point of view, you're repairing vehicles that if you're defective, could kill somebody. So it might be something where you fit something that's got a latent issue on it, you didn't see it, and, you know, totally innocent, somebody dies in it, they could sue you. Well, if you're a sole trader and they at some point think you were negligent because they think you should have seen it, even though you didn't, then your house is gone, you know, your pension's gone, your life's gone.
Correct. Yeah.
Having that limited liability where you've got no liability because you've got some type of boundary between you and a consumer is a very powerful tool, because it then means that it also makes it easier from a professional indemnity point of view and your insurance or business insurance, because you're setting a boundary between you as Jay Neville and the business that you operate. Now, what you've also got as well then is that when Jenny was saying about the different benefits from a tax point of view, what people generally do when they operate as a sole trader is they see the money coming in as being their money. And what you need to do as a business owner is take your brain out that concept of thinking this money coming in is my money, and think, actually, no, it's the company's money. Don't be scared of spending it. And one of the reasons why you see, you know, it's very rare you'll see a sole trader that's grown to being a big company. And the reason being is because they just hold on to all the money, they get scared of spending it. Now, when you're a limited company, things like advertising and marketing are things you can offset against your profit, and they can actually help your business grow. Things in terms of capital finance are different things where there's different benefits attached to it, which again can help your business grow. Looking about the amount of money that you're spending on the equipment in your business that could potentially allow you to provide different services. Again, you buy those assets and you can offset it against your profit and your tax. Your training for your staff. Again, it's an operational cost of the business because you need to train and update your staff all the time, but you could potentially be training them to do things that earn you more profit. So all those different things, I'd be advising a limited company all day long. The risks attached to being a sole trader, repairing cars. As a forensic engineer inspector, and where I've gone out and inspected vehicles where they've been faulty in some way or not been repaired correctly, a situation where there was faulty sealant on a vehicle. So the actual repair work, and this vehicle had been restored, the actual restoration was lovely, really nice work on it. But what had happened was the body shop had bought a product, which to all intents and purposes was out of the back of a van, and they repaired the vehicle, but then the sealant reacted. So it meant that the body shop was in for the cost of rectification for it because it was rejected under the Consumer Rights Act. That was like with legal fees, excuse me, it's a 40 grand job. So it's, you know, it's something there where it's huge. Just bear me 2 seconds. I just jumped in there just to see. So what Jenny just said then basically as well, if anyone wants to contact her for advice or a call, she's happy to speak to you, or just pop her an email. So while she's just showing that as well, just so you can see her business, I'll bring her onto the screen. There's the lovely Jen and her colleagues. And you can find out all about Aspire Accountants by clicking on the YouTube links, but also find out about the different range of services they provide as well. So whether it's through professionals, trade professionals, whether you want bookkeeping, if you are a sole trader, or whether it needs to go into more of a complete accountancy package, your tax returns, looking at your management information, also helping you with a compliance point of view of how you operate your business. But a key thing as well, which Jenny didn't touch on to there, but is a massive thing, is part of what is going to do with having a cash flow forecaster is looking at your forecasting and budgeting, because things like that actually help you understand in terms of what funds you've got available to your business and whether you can grow in the future, whether you shouldn't invest, whether you shouldn't grow your business. But having access to support like that is really vital. So something else that she does is having external meeting support. So it might be that not only do you want to have meetings with her, for example, but you might want to have a meeting with a client because your body shop's covered in bog dust and everything else, that you want somewhere professional to take them. No, you can use, most accountants, mine does the same. They allow you to actually use their business as well for a meeting point.
Yeah, the businesses that we have on board as well, all especially the trades, especially for that reason, use our business as their registered address.
Yeah.
So that makes things a lot easier for the client side as well. And if I can just throw something else in there as well that I think is really interesting, and what I've experienced recently is we try and find out from all our clients what the growth expectations are of the business. Where do they see themselves in a few years? What is the ideal point in time where they want to stop working? Do you always want to be the technician on the floor, or do you want to come away from that? So I always see it as like a bit of a football analogy, actually. So bear with me a moment. But if you're on the pitch, there's always loads of you on the pitch and you're all playing football and you're always in the mix of it. So therefore, you've got a job. That's a job at that level that you're always day to day, you're running it, you're always in the middle of it. Scoring goals, defending, whatever it is you need to do, you're wearing 12 hats all at the same time. When you're on the sidelines, you become the ref. So you start becoming then a little bit more of a business owner at that point. You're inside the match, you're seeing what's happening. However, you are only speaking to the team when you need to. You're referencing back to them, but you're giving them some leeway and some trust and some ability, inspiration to go out there and play the game for you. And then you get up to the box. You're sitting in the box, the VIP box. Then you've become a true business owner or even a shareholder at that point. And a lot of people strive to get to that point because most people go into a business and start running a business thinking, I love what I do. So they open a business. However, their dream is actually to be able to go and sit on a beach with their family or go football every week or whatever it actually is, whatever your North Star is, travel, go see the world, whatever it is. You need to have that in mind all the time to think, why am I doing today? What is it that I'm doing? What am I working towards? What's the North Star? So always have that in your mind. So over the last few months, I've watched lots of businesses want that, hungry for that growth, so hungry for that growth. So what we've done is we've took lots of different courses, which is again what we do is to try and understand industries and clients even more. And we've looked at acquisitions. So we started with a guy called Jonathan J, who buys and sells businesses, is all that he does. And he's looking at new acquisitions every month, something new, absolutely every month. So we decided to jump and do the same because I thought, why not? That's absolutely my North Star as well. I want to travel. I want to spend time with my family and I don't want to have to sacrifice everything. So I think that's really, really important to keep that North Star in mind. So within the next 2 months, we'll acquire 2 businesses. And what I wanted to point out more so is I've done it with no cash down. So that throws most people at this point when we say this. No cash down. You do not have to be a millionaire to go and buy another business. So I want you to think about what you're doing day to day. And is there another business out there that's already established, already got a reputation, a good one? It's already got a team. It's already got everything that you want your business to potentially be. Go and have coffee with them. That's my first instruction, really, my first bit of advice. Go and have a coffee with them. Go and find out what did they do, what have they done differently to stand out, to be outstanding, and flip that word as many times as you want. It's fantastic. And go and find out, spend the time to understand and learn from that person, and then find out, is there anyone else on the edge of retirement, wants an exit plan, similar business, complementary business to what you're doing perhaps? Perhaps it doesn't need to be the exact duplicate of what you're doing. Perhaps it can complement your business. So have a think about those lines as well and think, okay, how do we do this? What's the next steps? I want that business. How do I go about doing it? How do I grow through acquisition? Now, it's not everyone's fairy tale, and don't get me wrong, not everyone's got that that risk element in them as well and things like that, that go-get attitude. But a lot of people understand they walked into being a business owner and they really want exponential growth. That's what they want. The ultimate goal to be a shareholder, a business owner, a CEO, whatever title you want to give it. But ultimately, they don't want to be the technician for the next 50 years. So if anything that you can take away from today, I really just want you to think about what your North Star is. That's what I call it. What's your North Star? What's your biggest goal? Why are you doing whatever it is you're doing on a day-to-day basis? and think there's so many possibilities out there to be able to actually do this. And you don't need to be a millionaire to start the ball rolling.
Just before you cut that little bit of conversation short there, so do you want to just elaborate a little bit more on what you told me the other day about what your personal goals are, so they can get a bit of insight in terms of what's capable? So again, explain where you come from, as in employee, being
Okay.
qualified, becoming an accountant, single mother, bringing kids up in your own, struggling and doing your qualifications whilst spinning many hats.
I'll
To where you
try and summarize as
and
fast
to
as I
intend,
can.
yeah, do it in a short version, but to then where your intentions are now over the next 3 to 5 years.
So I started, really rough childhood, by the way. Didn't do well in school whatsoever, really hard upbringing, quite neglectful background. Moved out when I was 16, got quite a few different jobs, bounced around the place for a few years, fell into accounting, absolutely loved it. Started night school, bought my own house when I was 23. I was a manager in Preston at one of the BAE manufacturing sites by the age of 24. Worked my way up through the industries, a lot in manufacturing. I really loved to stay in the manufacturing world. And I think shop floor attitude, everything. I loved getting on with the guys out there and stuff. And I wanted to see how it all developed, how it all worked and mingled in with each other. So that was where I've come from. And I was expecting Jessica, who's bobbed down and gone back up. And I decided that I'd worked my way through the ranks and I'd got to a position where I was earning, I was nearly in triple figures, and got the car, got the health plans, flying around the world. I was expecting my little girl and I thought, I'm done with this. I actually really want to help the community. I really want to help real people. I want to get involved a little bit more with what skill set that we've got that we can put into play a lot more. So I took a full redundancy. And a year later, I opened Aspire Accounts. So I put my whole life into this. At this point, I'm single mum then, and still am, and look after I look after half the bloody street, I think, actually, as well. So very open house policy in my house. So I'm very much in part of the community. Opened Aspire Accounts with nothing and built it up over the last 5 years. So the dream now, and has been for a while, is within the next 2.5 years, Tim's smiling now, is to get to a £10 million turnover. We're on a good path towards that now. So it's been a natural progression with Aspire. And if I continued the natural progression, it would be great, but I'm not going to get to 10 million in 2.5 years. I want a £10 million turnover with 20% net profit, continuous by 2.5 years. Every single year, that 10 million a year, churning out. So through different channels of ways of working with people, lots of connections. I do loads of networking and I love networking so much. I opened my own. So I've got another business that I run networking events from, and it's in a pub. Loads of drinks. We all get pissed up on a Friday afternoon. It's absolutely hilarious, and everyone does business together. So it's so much fun. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's a really, really good way to make natural connections. Sorry.
Jump in quickly. Is that achievable without anyone backing, as in like a cash injection or an investor, just literally running off your own profits and organically growing?
Organically growing, however, grow through acquisition.
Yeah.
So that is the big difference there as well. So organically, it's going to take me a lot longer than 2.5 years to get to the £10 million mark. If I grow through acquisition, which is what I was explaining just before, I've gone in and I've bought 2 businesses. So both deals will go over the line in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Just explain the funding side, Jenny.
So the funding side behind this is called vendor finance. This is when I've walked into a business and I've said, I really want to buy your business. There's been a bit of a process behind that as well. I've sent emails out to about 300 different companies that I targeted, that I really wanted. It was in sectors I wanted, and it's also within miles radius. So obviously your parameters are more, you suit your own parameters. So if you want something in a specific town, target that town, find out what businesses are in that town. So I've gone to these people, they've I've emailed them, I've reached out, I've asked for them to contact me if they're interested in having a conversation with me about selling their business. Do they want an exit plan? Have they thought about an exit strategy? They've come to me. I got about a 5% return, which I was really thrilled with actually, because it was quite a high return on the amount of letters that we sent out. So I had meetings with all of them. I've cherry picked which ones I liked the most. I've done obviously all the due diligence on this, looking at the owners currently, what staff is, looking at the financials, making sure the legal aspects, there's no issues with the company, having a look to see is it profitable, and then I've gone, right, I like your company and I know you want an exit strategy. I found out what the weak point is, which sometimes is staff, because they want the staff to be looked after. So it's actually sometimes more important for them, the staff are looked after rather than getting a bulk payout. And then I've gone in with, so this is how I'm going to pay you. I'm going to pay you the price that we've discussed over 3 years. And they go, what? And I go, yeah. So this is tax beneficial for you. So again, I've got all the listings of all the information of why it's good for the seller, because they don't have to pay tax up front for selling their shares on one immediate basis. So they get relief. And they get a constant income, a monthly income for doing nothing. So for 3 years, these business owners can sit back, enjoy retirement or whatever it is that they're going to do next, and get a monthly income. And how do I pay it? From the business I've just bought. So I walk into that business, I make sure it's profitable enough to pay a monthly fee out to the current owner out of cash. So the cash balance has to be enough for me to go, yeah, that works. That's absolutely fantastic. So one of the ones that I've got as well is right on borderline, but with the growth plans that we've got with the business, with the expertise, with the networking and everybody else that we know around it, there's a lot of growth plans to be able to double that business within a 3-year period. So by the time I've finished paying the shareholder back, and in the meantime, there's excellent opportunity for owner drawings, money, cash, literal cash coming out. So one of the businesses that I've just bought, which is really fun because I'm a really fun accountant, by the way, I've just bought an indoor children's soft play because I bloody love them. That's one of my dreams was to buy one of them. So I bought one so that I can put an alcohol license in at night and have adult only sessions. So yeah, absolutely, so much fun. But it's the same deal, it's exactly the same deal. And what's funny about this is when you start getting into this world, I realized the guy that was selling me the indoor soft play, and I approached him with the vendor finance option, and he went, yeah, that's absolutely perfect. That's how I bought my first business. So we got chatting, and I thought, hang on a minute, you know the same strategy as I know. And he went, do you know Jonathan J? And I said, yeah, he's my mentor. Please write down Jonathan J. Jonathan J. Look at him on LinkedIn, YouTube, Jonathan J. Go on Amazon. There's 2 books. Buy both books. How to Buy Business, really easy book. 101 Questions Answered, Jonathan J. They're very short books, by the way, really easy to read. But you need to buy the books if you want to learn more about this. The strategy of everything I'm telling you is in them 2 books. And then watch his podcast and learn a bit more and understand a little bit. So I've walked into 2 businesses and bought both by using vendor finance. I will use their own money to buy their business from them over a period of time that I proposed, that
So
I'm
just to,
comfortable with. Go on,
just to
Tim.
jump in there, Jenny, it's just that, so Ashley's got a question for you as well. So Ashley Corey.
Hello, can you hear me?
You're very, very quiet, Ashley.
We
That-
can't hear
better?
you.
Hold
That's
on.
better,
wait,
yeah.
Oh, that's
Yes.
better, yeah.
Yeah, stick your mic right in the email, great then.
So I spoke to my accountant a couple of weeks. Well, I say my accountant, I think it's the assistant. They've not got back to me yet. I'd like to set up a car sales business on the side. Because I'm a mobile body shop. My business is registered with HMRC to be able to do that together. Am I able to have 2 separate businesses, so the repair side and the sales side, so that my turnover isn't affected by the car sales?
Absolutely.
That's all right.
Absolutely. Because it's 2, different lead services that you're providing. When you set them up on company's house, and again, as I suggested with a limited company, you'll use what's called an SIC code. So when you're determining the SIC code, you'll notice that they're very different. So that again enables you to set up two businesses. You need to make sure the right costs are going through, what business. You need to make sure as well you're claiming everything that you can claim. So simple things like telephone, honestly, mobile phones as well. That's a big one that people miss, and I don't know why. Make sure you get your mobile phones in both. Mileage as well when you're going out on mileage. Another really cool little spin on mileage is you can claim 45p a mile. So if you're going out delivering, or if you're going out and seeing a client or anything like that, 45 pence a mile that you can claim. However, if you've got a passenger, you can claim another 5 pence. And if you go on a bike, you can claim 20 pence a mile. So it's like, it's really amusing actually, like the things that are out there that you can actually claim. So if you're complete healthily and you're going riding a bicycle to go and see a client, put a claim in for it because you're allowed to. And people miss out on so many opportunities that are things that are there. Also, if you're using a home office, like we can see, there's lots of people here. Tim, yeah, that's using a home office. Make sure you claim home expenses and not just the standard allowance of home expenses. So make sure you claim partial council tax, partial rent or interest on your mortgage, your partial internet and telephone bills, your partial gas, electric and water bills. Everything can go in a limited company. There's so much allowances that people miss out on. So yes, have two separate businesses. Don't miss out on the allowances. But
Perfect.
it is a smart idea. There's a lot of people that have split
Within that,
businesses.
for repairing the cars for sale, I can pay my other business, right? Is that right?
Yeah,
can I do that?
Obviously, it depends on the structure of what you've set up as well. So if you've got, so how I do it when I'm doing, because I have a few businesses, is I set
Have you got a
up
shell company at the top of it?
holding company.
Holding company, yeah.
So you have a holding company and then have two underneath it. So that's the parent of them two children, if you like. Again, it splits off your liability even more at this point. So not only have you got the limited liability from the limited company, but having a holding company above it really, really protects you. And it makes it a lot easier when you start transferring money around from one to the other to the other and things like that. So it's better tax efficient wise as well. It's easier to trade.
You can also loan yourself money as well from one business to another a lot easier as well.
And you can put losses one against the other and things like this. So if you've got if you've got a profit in one and a loss in the other, if it's under a holding company, you can offset things and really take advantage of the tax benefits there as well.
Perfect.
Things
Thank
like,
you.
As well, if you also get into a point where you're just below the VAT threshold, as long as the two different types of business are separate from each other, then what you can do is actually put that one type of business through the other one to bring it down so you stay below your threshold, but also pay less corporation tax on it as well.
Yeah.
But another quick tip for you, I doubt Jenny will come up with this one, but this is a cracker that I found out. I've got a friend who runs a gas company, and I knew him from when he first started off with one pickup, and then he's now like a multi-millionaire, and he's got multiple businesses. But one of the tips he gave me, and I just thought this was an absolute blinder. So I don't know if any of you have seen like what cars I'm into, what cars I've got, but I've got El Guru on my Porsche 996. So it's E16URU. And then on my Merc, I've got Mr. Guru. So the one I drive around most on is my Merc. And then I've also got a third one. Now, each one of these could link to my businesses, marketing and advertising. Now, I'm going to see what Jenny's face is like on this next bit, see whether she thinks I'm legal or not, or what I'm getting away with. But, what you can basically do is, because they're advertising and marketing through your business, it's an asset of the business, but it's also a depreciating asset. So what you can technically do is that after 6 years, I can now sell these registration plates to myself for a very small amount of money. It might be £1. And then what I'll then do is Motor Claim Guru will then buy these registration plates back off Tim Kelly for £5,000.
Yeah.
So then what I've then done is if I've got 3 plates, I've just got 15 grand out of the business that I've not paid tax on.
Yeah, I have seen this before actually. Yeah, we have another client that does this.
So my mate with the gas company's got something like 200 vehicles. So I said, why have you got a private plate on every single, because he's got like fill up and extra gas and this gas and that. And I'm like, why have you got so many private plates? And he's like, and he explained to me what he does, and he rotates all of them round, and he has done for years. And he buys and sells them back to himself. But all he's doing is, it then becomes an asset of the business. So it then means you don't pay tax. It reduces your profit you're making because you bought something that's got capital in it, so it's an asset. And it reduces your liability, like reduces your tax. So it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Yeah.
Tim,
So-
are you doing this as a capital gain and using it under your capital allowances?
I don't know, Jenny. I think that's your answer.
Yeah, but
you
there's an
can do it that
allowance.
way.
There is an allowance of 12,300 per year, and again, it can be offset against previous losses. And if you get your partner involved and do it like that, or family members, it's another smart way of doing it, because it doesn't need to be sold to Tim Kelly, or it can be sold
Can be
to
anybody.
one of his. Yeah, honestly, yeah, there's loads of beautiful loopholes in there that you can take advantage of. That's still very legal, by the way, because I'm very, above board. However, I hate paying the tax man, and I love loopholes. So that's where I sit with that, really.
This is why you need a good accountant, everybody. So
Yeah.
if you want to know about being a sole trader, a limited company definitely a great thing, because it then means you can pay a good accountant and offset their cost against your profits and you pay less
Yeah.
tax. And a good accountant is invaluable.
Mhm. They
But
should
there we
always
go.
save you more than what you pay anywhere by at least twice.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah, mine's ace. My mates were laugh because he goes like, "Here's where you are," and like, so this is what we're doing. And then,
Where do you
so
want to be?
and here's something for all of you as well. So if you're not speaking to your accountant at least once a month, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Jenny, are you taking on clients?
Yeah, of course we are. Of course
Perfect.
we
I
are.
may
Ashley.
be in touch.
We
We'll
would love
be in
to hear
touch.
from you. We'd
So
love to
again,
hear
I mean, I'll provide all of you with a link to Jenny's website as well, and like she's given me an email address. So if any of you do want to get in contact with her, by all means, either drop me a message or send me an email, and I'll give you links to it and go through.
And we're starting to do workshops as well this year. We do we'll have mortgage, insurance, other health benefits. We'll ask Tim to come down as well, probably at this rate. We've got pensions. So we've got a lot of strategic partners that we work alongside with, that we've set up deals in place. We've also got, as Tim mentioned at the very beginning, Action Coach as well, which is a business coaching facility. It's one of the biggest ones in the UK now. So I do urge you as well to have a look at a guy called James Burke. I'll write his name in the chat as well. But
Is ace.
it is
So,
amazing, actually.
yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. If you're available, because this is a free opportunity as well, I'll write it in the chat. So 3rd Monday, April, that doesn't make sense, but it is. And it's at the Chill Factor. So if you're free on the 3rd of April, which is a Monday, come down to the Chill Factor near the Trafford Centre, and I'll send Tim the details. But it's a free day of basically a 90-day planning. So you're setting yourself up for the next 90 days in your business. What's your goals? And you're doing it with loads of other business owners all at the same time. So the amount of advice that you would get in that room is phenomenal. And it's a free event.
To give you an
We also-
idea, so I was with James Burke for a year to 2 years, but I know the limitations of my own business, but that is full of all my own personal stuff in terms of development, growth plans, stuff like that. That's one book. That was my second book with ideas for another business, because I found out that Multi-Claim Guru is not the best business because I designed a job. So I got an action coach and then realized I need to design a second business that I'm going to be a business owner and not an employee. Then I've got other ones, but a lot of these books as well. So I mean, I'm sure Jenny will notice some of the content I put through tonight's session is what I get from the action coach. Having somebody coach you in business is, again, if you don't know how to run a business, you need somebody to teach you.
Yeah.
But you need to understand that you need to have some type of plan, and you need to have goals and life goals, because otherwise you just keep doing what you've always done and always get what you've always got. So
another way of looking at it is like getting in the car and having no destination. You've not put a postcode in your sat nav. You're just driving aimlessly around. So your goal setting is basically you finding your postcode. So when you get in your car, you can actually put a destination and you know where you're going. Even if you divert off that road a little bit, you're going to come back onto it. And it's really important to know what your North Star is.
Oh.
And what I was going to say before as well, Tim, just very quickly, is we offer a membership as well to Action Coach James Burke free when you're a client of ours on a monthly retainer. So it's a massive thing that has recently come into play. We signed a deal with him in December so that we would pay for all our clients because we know how good it is and we know how beneficial it is for our clients to grow at the same time because it's life-changing stuff.
To give you an idea as well, just before you do, Richard, just a quick one. So when I started using Action Coach as well, the reasons why I stopped doing it, and it was more because I understand the limitation in my business. But when I was using him, I had something like a 200% growth in my business because I was actioning the things I was being told to do it. And then there was things where the reason why I stopped using it is because of what I do, because I'm the business and the consultant, and because it's hard for me to share my knowledge about insurance claims and the regulatory side of it. There's bits where I can outsource it to other people, but I'm still limited to it. So what I need to do, there's no point in me doing it now because I'm still doing this bit of it, but I need to have a separate business, which I do have planned and I have registered it and I have got things in the background, which can then allow me to then grow it further. But when we start talking about business planning, this is a very rough one. This is called a sum system. If you think about this bit here as being you need to basically think of it in terms of like a 3-year goal, a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal. So to get from each individual bit, you might need to focus more on in terms of your planning, your staff, your training, your marketing. The more you expand in business, the more you need to invest in each individual part and spend more money on it and spend more time on it to grow it. But unless you know where you're going, you'll never get there. So starting off with a 10-year planning working backwards, it starts making sense because if you can double your turnover every year, it might seem a lot at the start of it, but it actually gets easier the more you get through, the longer you do it. But once you start going back from a 10-year plan, 5-year plan, 2-year plan, down to like a day-to-day diary. So something I have is a day-to-day diary. I plan what I do day-to-day the night before. I work down every single job that I'm doing. I know what I'm doing before I even get out of bed in the morning. Yeah. I have a week-to-week diary. So I'll put my jobs going through. Each day what I do, I'm not doing it as much now because I don't need to, because I've got an abundance of work. But what I was doing was spending at least 2 hours a day doing my marketing every single day. So something else in terms of other books that I would recommend are.
Sorry, Tim, you don't pay for any marketing, do you?
Say again?
It's all free. You don't pay for your marketing, do you?
No, I do it all myself. But habits.
Oh yeah.
Atomic habits. Being consistent in what you're doing. Yeah. So you need to make it a habit where you're spending time on the things that develop your business. It's great having it in your head, but if you don't take action with the things that you need, you won't do it. And the longer you won't do it, and I'm the worst one for this as a procrastinator, because I said I've got a second business that I've done nothing with for 2 years because I've been that busy doing my own stuff. You need to take action on it, because otherwise you forget about it. But once you start finding out that as a means of growing, that one, Jenny.
Hey, Napoleon Hill, that's the one. It's
yeah, that's the one.
Book ever.
Another best book ever.
Yeah.
And there's also another book called The Secret, which is quite interesting because a lot of the stuff that's in the book called The Secret is ripped straight off Napoleon.
Yeah.
But the key to success, it's like going to the gym and trying to get fit. You don't get massive muscles by going to a gym one day and beasting it and it's like, right, you're fit. The way you get fit is by doing something. Small things individually by their own, and this is James Clifford's bit of it as well. So being consistent and doing getting small incremental gains on a regular basis develop you and as a person and your business into being better. But if you want to know how to go from 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year to go from being turnover 10 grand to 50 grand to 100 grand to 500 to $1 million, you need to work out what you need to do to get there. So do you need to spend more money on your advertising and marketing to get the customer in that you need? And then that way you're then going like, right, we've got growth because we've got an abundance of custom. But do you market in such a way where you're targeting these different people that will spend more money with you? So target people who spend more money for doing less rather than ones where you're competing with Fred in his shop down, Fred in the shed down the road, and you're having to do 10 times as much work for a lower profit margin because your rates are lower. So work harder for less and work more intelligently. But by doing that, it gives you more time to focus on other things in your business that you can also make more money on. So don't be a busy fool. Be an intelligent business person to make more profit. Go on, Richard.
Richard.
I was going to go back to something that Jenny said a few minutes ago, probably 15 minutes ago, because Tim's been wittering. In America, there's a big abundance of 20 groups, which if you don't know America, then 20 groups probably means nothing to you at all.
No.
But it's well, you obviously do. But networking in America is a much bigger thing where sharing and learning from each other is a much more recognized way of avoiding making every mistake yourself. I've been looking for 20 groups in the UK around automotive, be it repair, be it bodywork, be it any aspect of the motor trade, and not really found anything at all. Are you organising 20 groups? Do you know if they exist in this country at all?
No, very interesting question, actually, to be fair. I haven't heard of that group in the UK, but it's certainly something that probably wouldn't take me long to find out, just because, again, the networks of people that I've got around me. So I'll put a message out within a few groups that I've got going and find out if that exists or not. But if it doesn't, why don't you create it? Why don't you replicate what they've got over there and put it together over here?
Well, sadly, I'm one of these time poor people. I don't have, I have a shed load of my own stuff.
He spins a lot of plates, Jenny.
No, I don't. So, I wish I did. No, so 20 groups, for those who don't know, it's in the US, especially the automotive sector is quite active in this. It's basically groups that get together to network. Why they got called 20 groups is probably because they originally limited it to 20 participants per area, where local businesses in the main within the same industry sector came together to meet every whatever period they wanted to discuss things that were happening and how they could improve, so they could learn from each other. And if you subscribe to anything like Remarkable Results Radio, which is a podcast series from the States, or any of the American podcasts, they will talk about it a lot. There's a lot to be gained from sharing, and in this country we don't. I come from a quite isolated island in that we are Ferrari, Maserati, Lamborghini specialists, and in that sector nobody wants to share anything with you at all. So I've spent 25 years in the motor trade wanting to share, wanting to learn, and not being able to because nobody wants to participate and share with you. And as a few people on here will know, I'm very happy to share anything that I know to help anybody else with no expectation of a return on it, because I think we need to help each other. And I'm very interested in doing something along those lines, especially around London. I can't travel to your Manchester get together, sadly. That would be a step too far for me.
You get a nosebleed, mate. You need a passport.
Going north of Watford is a real problem.
So I think as well, one of the biggest things that's changed everything for me personally is mindset. It's having the complete focus, being completely driven. Yeah, another fantastic book as well. And again, make sure you read. That's the only thing that sets you apart from the billionaires that already exist. Elon Musk, and people like this, Richard Branson. The only thing that is different, because they still have 24 hours in a day, so do you, so do I. They can still only do so much, but the only thing that makes them different is they read and they learn and they have a great mindset. They have a morning routine. So adopt these things, because that will change everything for you. Believe that you're already there. Whatever your North Star is, you have to make way for it in your life. You have to visualize and see it. It's already happened. You've got it. You finally got to that position you wanted to get to. Wake up in the morning and feel it. Empower yourself. Look in the mirror and tell yourself that you've got there, that you've won the challenge, you've got to your North Star, you've climbed your mountain. Drink a pint of water, do some exercise, do some breathing techniques, read or listen to a podcast. That's really important to make time for that. And if somebody says I'm too busy, I'll say double the time that I do then. Because if you don't work on your mindset, you won't ever get anywhere. It's a very difficult challenge.
You get worn out as
anywhere.
well. You get distracted by running your business rather than actually focusing on what you need to be doing.
Correct. You need to take yourself out of that and
Yeah.
think, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Focus on your mindset. Focus on yourself. When it, like flight attendants say, fix yourself, put your gas mask on first or whatever, and then everyone else. It's the same in business. You've got to look after yourself first, and then have a look at the other parts of the business. But
So if you're working
work on
flat
your
out in your
mind.
business, yeah, if you're working flat out in your business repairing cars and you can't spend an hour in an evening to come on a training session, which is what I get from quite a few people on the group. I'm too busy, Tim, because I'd love to have come on it tonight, but I've had to finish repairing this car. And you're going, yeah, but you're not making any profit. And it drives you crackers, doesn't it, Jenny? You're going like, no. Going back to what Richie was saying then, so the reason why I do these sessions is because I want to help you.
Yeah.
So it's because I understand that there's a need there for businesses where you're all new business owners, you're all great at repairing cars, but you're crap business owners. You've got no idea about it, because nobody's ever taught you to. The thing is,
It's
nobody ever
great to
taught me
learn.
either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it is. It's a hard world. It is a hard world.
But it's also the time it takes you. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a brilliant business owner. I'm certainly, I've got my head screwed on, but it took me the best part of 9-10 years to do it, without a doubt. Well, easily 9 years. Well, I'd say 7 or 8 years, and then I've thought, yeah, and certainly from a marketing side of it, I know I'm really good on the marketing side of it, because I know the key to success of how to do it, and I can replicate it, and I can make it do what I want it to do. So I know that side I'm good at it. But there's other side of it where I don't know about it, and if I don't know about it and I can't understand it, I can't learn it, I employ somebody who does, because I can't afford to spend a lifetime learning something that somebody else has learned when I can just pay them. So if I need a good accountant, I just pay him now. I don't try and learn it. Whereas when I first started off, I wanted to do everything. And the thing with running a business is you can't do everything. There's just not enough of you. You can't be a brilliant marketer, a brilliant accountant, brilliant at repairing cars, a brilliant business owner, and then all of a sudden you need to do something else. And then you might also have a family. You're a father or a mother, and you've got kids and everything else.
But you should pick though as well. I think it's really important that you understand all the aspects of the different things that you need to be in business, and pick 3 maximum areas that you want to be involved with. But you cannot be involved with 20 different areas of the business. And like Tim says, you need to delegate that out. You need to get that out of your world, because otherwise it'll destroy you. There's too much to do. There is far too much to do. So I think pick what you love doing and think about where you want to be in 1 year, 5 years. Do you still want to be doing, I don't know, the repairs, or do you still want to be doing the sales, or do you want to do customer service, or do you want to do the networking? Do you want to do the marketing? Which bit do you want to do? And pick 3 bits and work on getting it down to them 3, just them 3. Because otherwise it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, James just mentioned a good book there as well. Another one called Who Not How, which is another cracking book. But there's another belt. I mean, I've got tons of them that I love. I mean, Eat My Frog's one of my favorites as well, about getting over procrastination and just getting rid of the thing that you keep putting off. Just do it and get rid of it, and then everything else after that's easy. But that book that I said about, which is
any Brian Tracy book, from selling all the way through to habits, is amazing.
Brian Tracy is awesome. There's loads of them. I mean, it's like I said, you're looking at what books I've got in the background there. I've literally got tons and tons of books of all sorts, and I've read most of them, because that's what it's all the time. If I couldn't afford to pay some to do something or teach me something, I bought a book and started teaching myself. So yeah, Rich Habits is another one.
I've just thrown a load of books in there as well, really, really good ones that'll help all of you really. So I would recommend anybody reading these books. And I think the Think and Grow Rich book is probably one of my favourites, because I believe they should teach this at schools.
Yeah, I do.
This is the type of book I would put in a school and say, you should be that young when you learn this stuff, that it would change our entire humanity.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, another one for that as well is there's a book called Who Stole My Pension?
Mhm.
And if you've not got that book, go on Amazon now or audio book or whatever and buy it. So again, it's a book I suggest they should put it in schools.
Yeah.
And again, it's about the stories and the analogies in it are amazing. And it's all about making your money work for you. So it might seem weird that you're coming on a session tonight to learn about how to run a business, but the key to running a business is not just having one.
Yeah.
Which is a really funny thing. The key to having money coming in is to actually have multiple different income streams coming in and multi different businesses. So, for example, with what I do within my own business, I've actually reduced what I do now. But last year, I had 16 different income streams coming in through Multi-Claim Guru. And in terms of the different income streams I had coming in, I had stuff that paid me a monthly retainer. I had advertising revenue coming in off my website. I had consultancy work coming out with a major client where they paid me a day rate. So I had a ton of work coming in off them. I had my own personal stuff. I had engineering stuff. I had claims stuff. So what I did was I worked out a system where if one of these things drops off and dies, I've got something else in the background to cover it up. Part of what I did through COVID was I realized that nobody's going to be driving cars. So I'd have less claims coming through. And if there's less claims, there's less people making insurance claims, less people that are going to be unhappy about making insurance claim. So I thought there's potentially a section of my income is going to disappear over the night. So I focused on training. So what do you know now? This is the reason why I do sessions like this, because one side of it is I want to educate you guys of what you need to know. But the secondary side of it is you might think, do you know what? I think I actually need to know more about how to run a business and how to develop it. I need to speak to Tim. Or do you know what? I need to know how to fight insurance companies because I'm sick to death of them steering work away from me. So I can teach you how to overcome all the obstacles that insurance companies put in front of you and teach you about insurance law, contract law, consumer law, help you in terms of when you've got complaints coming in. So teaching you how to understand how to protect yourself by having a written contract in place where you set out your terms and conditions of business to make sure it doesn't come and bite you on your ass. And when it does bite on your ass, understand how to stop yourself from ending up in court just by having that education of being, of understanding the Consumer Rights Act. So all these things are things where I actually do as a paid service, but part of what I do from the training side of it was I understood that there was a need there that potentially I could then, it went from being a need to I could turn this into making money. Well, there's things within your business you might actually then think that, is it a separate service within your business that could be beneficial? So you've got companies on your trading estate, as an example. Bring it in, we'll wash it every Sunday for you, or Saturday. And whilst it's in, why don't you let us do a quick pre-check on it? It might seem as being nothing, but I guarantee every time you wash a car, you'll see a dent on it and see a scratch on it. Is that vehicle a lease vehicle? Does it need to be returned back when it's being leased undamaged? Yeah. Do you want us to rectify it? Well, just that quick car wash with the lad, you've got an apprentice on a Saturday morning coming in that you're paying like £5 an hour or something. He washes a car and notes all the damage on it. All of a sudden, you can go back to a fleet manager and going, this is the damage that's on your vehicle when it comes on site. Do you want us to rectify it for you? How many cars have you got? Oh, 20 in your fleet. Great. Something as simple as that. You can turn from being a benefit to other businesses in your area into income earners. And it's just identifying these specific areas.
It's interesting to find out how many people in business actually have referral income that comes in. So I think that's interesting platform as well. So you can always help other people, but you can also turn it into a really good referral scheme. So that there's different ways of earning money into that business as well. So I think that's a really good way. So, and again, just to give you a bit of comparison, this month I think we made £3,500 just on referral income. So that's just sending people to people and receiving the commission from it basically. So it's like two people's wages that as well really in each month. So £3,500 a month is on average now coming in just based on that. So I just think spread your wings a little bit with that as well, getting the right connections, getting the right networking.
It's passive income as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just about being intelligent with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Couple of questions, Jenny, for you. I'll come back to the referral income, but the first one is another Americanism, and I've lived in the States, so I have a few Americanisms. But profit first and the principles, they're sort of coming over here. Quite a few people in the automotive world. I know James Dillon down at Technical Topics is quite a fan of it. That's something that we're not really seeing much of. Is that something you subscribe to, the sort of theories behind people allocating money to buckets?
Maybe, but yeah, I mean, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king. So I think it depends on where your theory sits with it, what it is that you want to do with it. It's no, my answer would be no. I don't think I see that much of what you're saying there.
Okay, it's worth looking up profit first and looking at I think it's Mike something, can't remember his name, but it's worth looking up. It's certainly not the way that I've run my business over the years, but I've seen people do really well where they haven't been able to allocate and manage the allocating money to pay themselves correctly. The second thing, going back to your referrals, one thing that we've done in the body shop side, because we did a lot of trade work, which we've now almost completely stopped, is going back to the trade customers, but paying them a referral to actually get their retail accident work. So as opposed to looking at doing their stone chip preparations and stuff like that, actually paying them and their staff when they refer customers as a way of getting high value work. So
perfect.
While we'd love to have referral income, paying a referral to get a job is also, if you've been doing trade work, getting their accidents, especially non-fault, is a huge money spinner.
Yeah, I mean,
just before you jump in then,
doing it, because it's like paying for a marketing strategy. That is what you're doing there.
Yeah.
So it's not wasted spend or anything like that. It's basically a marketing strategy, and I think it's a fantastic one as well.
Yeah.
So we also have that in place, a referral scheme out to people as well. So when people refer clients into us, we pay them. Yeah, we pay them out as well. But it's fantastic marketing strategy. It really works. And really, it's like a little mini salesperson out there advocating for your business all the time. So really, it's a good strategy, and it does work in a lot of industries. So I would promote it in other places as well, and think about, if you're doing that now and work is coming from it, where else do these people go that are your potential clients that you could advocate to one person that could sell to 50 and then give them the incentive of the referral fee? So there's a lot around that as well. So we see that in many different industries. They find out what hotels or what football game they like going, or rugby or pubs they like going in, and they put stuff in there on purpose. So they pick it up, whether it be leaflets, flyers, QR codes these days. It could be a voucher that's got like a free pint at that bar. So it sends them there, and your advertising is all around. So it's like seeds in the head, and somebody comes from that. Really smart marketing.
I was just going to say then, it's like part of that as well is that anything that you spend money on that makes you profit is beneficial. Simple as that. So if you're spending money to get a referral to get customer in that makes you more profit all day long, if you're spending money on something that doesn't make you money, don't do it. And certainly from a marketing to it, you need to test and measure it. So part of what I would do, even though I don't pay for any of my marketing because I do it all myself, I do measure the effectiveness of what I do. I look at what reach it's got. I look at the interaction I've got. If you see me on social media, you'll see that I actually communicate pretty much with everybody. So if it's on LinkedIn or something, you'll see me speaking with every single person that's on it, because I want to develop a relationship with them. And it's not necessarily that it's develop a relationship with them. It's I don't know who they know. They might know somebody who's really beneficial to me. But what you've also then got, and this is part of it, which is kind of quite ironic, I've got one particular person on LinkedIn who absolutely guns for the living daylights out of me because he can't stand what I do, because I'm shooting against insurance companies all the time. And he will constantly try and throw spanners in the works to leg me up. The other week, for the first time ever, he had a situation whereas he needed me. And I thought it must have absolutely killed this guy to send me a message because he needed my help. And rather than just go thinking like, you know, this guy has literally been an absolute pain in the ass for 6 or 7 years and been a real thorn in my side. I could have just gone, you could trot on. I did the complete opposite. I went, no problem. Do you know what? I'm not even going to charge you. I thought, I'm going to let you see what I can do for free, because now he'll end up being my best advocate, because of all the time he's been fighting against me, he'll now see what I can do. He had this situation and resolved it in one phone call, and it was hilarious. And he just went, don't know what to say. This is all I got off him. Didn't really get much after that. And he was quite surprised. And it's this thing then where having people become your advocates and having the courtesy of being nice to, or even the people who you hate, be nice to them. If you're nasty to somebody who's nasty to you, it'll come back and it'll bite you on the arse. If you're nice to somebody, it's really hard for them to be not nice back to you. It's a real comical one. But then when they become your advocates, if you've got your worst enemy saying he's great over there, what do you think that all his mates are going to say? And again, so just being intelligent in terms of how you market yourself and use things. But it's also, there's bits where you can also show people what you do, but there's also bits where sometimes it's great not to. So having that little bit of mystique about what you do, because you don't want people to know all the things that you can do and how to do it, because then they might try and replicate it. But yeah, it's certainly beneficial tools. It's like, for example, is a good example, Richard the other week. So Richard's explained his background and what he does and all the rest of it, and the clientele that he's got and what he works on. And he utilised, look at him with his glass of wine, sitting back in Hawaii with palm trees behind him, posh bastards. He used me for a job the other week. And is it fair to say you were quite stunned at how fast I resolved it, Richard?
Excuse my French, but I fucked around with Admiral Insurance for the best part of 8 months, trying to be reasonable and work with them to get a result on a Maserati, not a high value car, 25 grand maybe. And they just wanted to write it off. They wouldn't actually move. They did everything that they could just to be intransigent. So after 8 months, and the owner was quite slow and considered and wouldn't actually get his finger out of his backside, I said, I'm going to pay for Tim. Sod you paying for it. I'm going to pay for it. From Tim taking on the instruction, one phone call, 1 hour, I'm £18,000 better off. So, okay, profit on that is realistically
not a lot, but it's
no. My profit on that is well, my hard costs on that are probably £6,500. So I've made a substantial amount of money, and Tim has earned in an hour 500 quid, and I don't begrudge Tim that at all. And I will go back and pay Tim repeatedly. He helped me today. I've got another case I'm about to give him. But yeah.
But it's that thing, isn't it, though? It's paying somebody else who can do the job, that amount of money, that's just saved you eight further months of your life battling with footwits.
Yeah.
No-brainer, isn't it? It's like, if rather than battling yourself on stuff where you smacking your head against a brick wall, if somebody else can do the job better than you, pay them. And then that way you can spend time. Because the funny thing is as well, the week later we're talking about something. I ring Richard up and he's going, can I ring you back later? I'm just taking a gearbox out. and I'm like, I didn't expect that. He's like, yeah, I work, when he says like he works on like Maseratis and Ferraris, he's like, yeah, he's under a car taking a gearbox out. It's what really does. So I'm just looking at what the time is now. I think we're covering most things I wanted to cover. So we're getting to 10 o'clock. I was going to wind up for that time. So is there anything where anybody's got any questions for anybody who's on the call in terms of Jenny or myself or Richard? I mean, I'm watching Amit's been slowly slouching down the sofa, and I thought you were asleep before, mate. I was watching his eyes shut. I thought every time I've noticed something, every time Richard starts talking, Amit falls into a sense of sleep. I thought clearly there's a pattern there. But that isn't something that just started off in this call. He's got used to Richard.
Richard's a good friend. We talk a lot.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm just poking fun like you do. So go on, guys. Any questions by anybody? So no, Jay, you're not very quiet, Jay, usually, are you? So
No, I'm listening. I've got a question for you. So last time I spoke to you, I cancelled my paid advertisement and I started doing my own advertisement, and I'm trying to get up to 8 hours a week of marketing the business. I'll probably say what, a month in, I've noticed a massive difference, and I've saved myself £300 a month. Now, how far can I push that, do you reckon? And where's the limit come where I then have to start paying for advertising? And what route would be the best route? Because you've got word of mouth.
Yeah.
You've got your Facebook pages, you've got your local car shows. Try and get involved with the community more. But there's obviously a limit to how far that's going to take you. So if you want to start employing more staff, you're going to need twice the volume of work coming through.
You'd think so, but it don't actually play out like that. So last month I had a crap month in terms of volume of people coming by my website. And what I've got is that, like I said, there's two different models of marketing. One's an inverted funnel. So you want to have your website as being at the top of the funnel, and then you go down through the funnel. And at the bottom of the funnel, you've got various platforms that you share it from. So you can do things where you pre-populate a blog and get them so that it does it on its own in the background, and there's different tools that you can use to do that. But you can do something from a blog from your website that shares it across your social media, and then have it so you can then get interactions from that, and it feeds back up the funnel to your website and get custom through that. This is primarily the way that I work. You would think you can have limitations in terms of the volume of stuff that you can do. There is, but the effort you put in now will reap dividends in the future. So when I look at what I do and what success I have purely on my website and not other things of what I do marketing wise, because like I said, this thing said about the stuff I've been doing on TV now is one side of it. But if I go to the nth extreme away from your website, so you've seen today I posted on that I've done 2 episodes on Car SOS. So I'm in this year's season. So I'm going to go out across 127 countries, probably across 25 million people around the world, who will find out about Tim Kelly and Motor Claim Guru, and I got paid for it. That is savvy marketing. That's by building relationships up and finding people I want to work with, developing a relationship with them, talking to them, becoming friends with them, and then finding out that you're beneficial or useful to them. Make yourself useful for people when I promote you. So when I said about the car show last year, is at the Great British Car Motor Show last year, I was on National Geographic again, being interviewed on stage in front of 25,000 people in a hall, telling them about what I do. But they're asking me because they want to know, not because I'm selling my services. So these things don't happen by accident. So last week I posted a thing where I was in Auto Car magazine. Well, I've been in Auto Car magazine about 4 times now. And part of what I've done through that is I've actually got some body shops that I work with as well that I trust. I've got articles on them in the magazine as a result of connections by the journalists. But what I've done is I've gone through LinkedIn and targeted every single journalist who works in any type of consumer magazine, editorials, researchers, car mags, radio, TV. I've done 3 things on Rip Off Britain on BBC. Well, part of that was that what stemmed from me getting an article in a newspaper, I then built up into getting to more articles in newspaper, because what I realized early on, so the key to success to marketing, find people who need you. So, but you can do things in terms of if you're working within your local community. So there's a lot of stuff that Jenny does when she says she works within local areas, and she's doing things where having meetings and groups, publicizing what you do within the community. As a journalist, they'll get an article about you. Oh, they're great, they're sponsoring such a person, or they're helping this community, or they're trying to get more young apprentices into working in your environment. That's a newsworthy feature. Well, the way marketing works is whatever the platform is, so it could be TV, it could be radio, it could be a broadsheet newspaper, anything at all, generally in the background is advertising content. So aside from the BBC, everything at some point needs advertising to create the income to allow the content to be used. So what you do is all these platforms need journalists, because the journalists will then give them the content. The journalist needs to get paid. You try writing an article every week. So I write for Body Shop magazine every single month. So again, this is another platform that I use to market myself. So for the last 3 years, you've seen me write about everything you can think of in the industry and about business development in the industry magazine. So I'm putting myself on a platform to you. So all these different things are going on. Now, what happens then is people recognize you and they go, because I'm consistently doing it. So atomic habits, I've created a pattern where I'm doing something consistently, pushing myself all the time. People notice. So what happens then is these journalists need content and go, do you know what? I'm fed up of writing every week. It's hard work. What do we do for content? I'll ring Tim. Tim, can you tell us about such a thing? Yes, of course I can. What do you need to know? So in essence, I will provide them with a lot of content on something that might be stirring or emotive that's newsworthy. They then write an article. They then get paid by a magazine. The magazine thinks they're great because they're writing about something that's current affairs to do with car insurance or vehicle use or something like that. Journalist is happy because he gets paid. I'm happy because I've just got 2 pages in a national magazine, national newspaper, on TV or on radio. I'm not paid for it. Done it for free. Because I understand how it works. I've twigged. I'm not spending £2 to get an advert. Bollocks to that. I'll provide the journalist the content that'll get me in the magazine for free, and they get paid for it. And he thinks I'm his best mate. So the next time he runs out of content, he'll ring me up again. But what happens then is then that you get all these things into newsworthy situations where journalists then think like, right, I've then become the go-to resource for anything in the industry to do with car claims and motor insurance or anything like that, or engineering. So then I've made friends with loads of consumer affairs journalists and loads of researchers. So I've used LinkedIn to find them all. So what happens then? Well, they need an expert who's not some random Joe who thinks he knows what he's talking about, who doesn't. They want somebody who's credible. Well, I've got loads of post-nominals after my name because I've earned them. So I'm reputable. I've got good background. I've got good credibility. I'm a good source to go to. So then you'll find researchers for the likes of BBC Rip Off Britain might have read things in like the Times or the Independent, and they spotted little Tim Kelly over there. Well, he knows his stuff. We'll use him. So then I'll get a phone call off a researcher. Next thing I'm on TV doing something with Rip Off Britain. Oh, he really does know his stuff. So you'll get something like that, and it's like, right, so I've done something for them for free. 6 months later, you might get something else again, and it's like, right, we want to do something on this, and it's like, well, yeah, but this time I either want to be branding on it. So it's great that you want to use me, but it has to benefit me as much as it benefits you. So you either need to pay me or I need to put my branding on it. Oh, we can't put your branding on it, Mr. Kelly, because we need to be impartial. Fair enough, you need to pay me then. You can't do what you want to do without the content, and you need me. Great, pay me for it. Fantastic. To do it again. So next thing then is I've got something where I'm on it, but you can't see my branding, but you know it's me because my car drives into the first shot of it, and you can see Mr. Guru on it. People who, Mr. Guru, who's he? To find me. Next thing then is they want something again, but they want to do 3 episodes, but they want to do it and record it all in a day. Can you do it when we need it tomorrow? No problem at all. And I'll place you on the corner. You can come through. I'll drop all my work, but you're going to have to pay me for the day. It's fine. Yeah, and I want you to put my branding on it as well. Well, we can't do that. And I went, you need me, and it's got to benefit me. So then what you'll then find is on the later things, you've now got something still about Tim Kelly being the expert, and you've seen me what I will make sure I wear a t-shirt with my branding on it, or a hat on it, or something else, or there'll be something in the background. I'll make sure I'm promoting myself and my brand to make myself recognizable. That then develops into somebody else in TV senior stuff. All this started off from me putting stuff out on a web page with content that was interesting. And then a journalist picks up and thinks, I need to know about that. And it spirals. So going back to what you're saying, Jay, at the start of it, to answer your question, is there a limit to it? No, there isn't. What you've got to do is work out how to keep that marketing snowballing. Work intelligently, work smartly, make your marketing work for you. Don't send out 25,000 leaflets and do an advert on radio or something else and then just leave it. Spending money on things that doesn't work in marketing is money lost. And you spend loads of times, like I said at the start of it, Jay, where with Yellow Pages stuff at 400 quid a month or whatever, it just doesn't work. Finding active participants who will promote your business for free is the key to getting it doing it, but you need to develop relationships. The relationship side is a massive side of it. You need interaction, you need involvement, you need participation. You need to them to, like, they become your acolytes. They will go out and spread the word and tell, you know, that body shop where Jay Neville is down there, he's fantastic, him, you know. And even to the point where they might even say, oh, he's not cheap, but it's great. So in the past, I might have talked about the Dunning-Kruger scale and showing the value of it in terms of the importance of what you charge and the impression it gives. There's an advert. So Jenny, you'll know this one from James's training, that Stella Artois did an advert and the advert was reassuringly expensive. So they're selling a product on the basis of something being expensive, not cheap.
Yeah.
But being expensive gives somebody the reassurance that they think they're buying something that's quality.
Yeah.
So rather than compete with Fred in the shed down the road that's doing it cheap, scrimping to the bottom and rushing to the bottom of the barrel, I'm doing the opposite. I'm going right up there. I'm going to the top. So when Richard said about, I sorted a job out for him in an hour and I've earned 500 quid. Yeah, that's a job I want. I don't want to be working at £15 an hour and doing a 10-hour day. I want to be working at £500 and thinking like, right, I can bugger off now, I've done my day's work. Or doing consultancy work and getting paid a day rate. Or, for example, there's a company I work with called the Gerson Lehman Group. I've done a job today, 350 quid an hour. Well, having this mix of work where I've got stuff that pays small amounts, but monthly retainers, bits in the middle that does my Voima work in the middle, and then doing the other stuff where it's consultancy work or stuff that pays the most, I can then focus on the stuff that pays the most and get rid of the stuff that doesn't pay as much. And I can fill my days up with all this nice, lovely stuff that pays a lot. But marketing got me there because it's about selling your brand. This is what you need to also realize as well, is that whether it's just you in your business or you have employees, the people in that business are the ambassadors of your brand, and that's what you need to sell.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I had a few customers come down this week, and all they said to me is, "Oh, I've had a cheaper price elsewhere." And I thought, well, try something different. So I said, my business plan is not to be the cheapest man. I said, if you want the cheapest man, you're not a customer for me.
Yeah.
I said, I've got the reviews online. I said, I've probably got 2 or 3 times the amount of reviews they got. If they don't speak volumes, I said, then I'm not the person for you. And literally, I just walked off, went straight back into my workshop. I thought, there's no point wasting any more time with this customer. And I just left them standing there. Literally about 30 seconds later, they followed me in when we booked it in.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you an interesting thing to throw back at them. So anybody who comes at you in terms of trying to get a job done on cost, just say to them, can you not afford a good job? That's all you need to say to them. Can you not afford a good job? I only do excellent work. Can you not afford excellent work? See, if you can't, I can't do it for you, because that's all I do. I don't do shit work. If I did shit work, I wouldn't charge you an awful lot of money, but I don't do shit work. I do excellent work. What do you want? But it's also then, this is also about having a funnel where you allow people to filter themselves out the process. You don't want to spending time on people that aren't going to spend money with you. Only spend time with people that do.
Sure.
Any other questions? Like I said, we're just getting past, we're 10 past 10 now, so I'm conscious we've been on a while. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking at Ant's face. God, you've been working tonight, mate. What have you been doing? You're like you've been buried under a wagon. I got a fellow in a dustbin, I'm not quite sure. You got black marks over your cheek, mate. Yeah. So any other questions?
Yeah,
So
just,
Richard's
just on the-
said he's got to go as well. So yeah, I'm going to finish up for everybody now as well. So yeah.
Sadly, I've got to go. Take care, everybody.
See you
Thank
home.
you. Take
Any
care.
other questions before we all go? No, I'll take it as no. So thank you very much, Jen, for your participation and your input and all your insights. You've been absolutely invaluable as ever. I knew you were going to be fantastic tonight in terms of the content you're bringing. But I also, for the rest of you as well, I hope you appreciate that, yeah, she has took the time out of her own night. She's done it for free just because she's a lovely lady. But by all means, if you want to find out details about her business, any links to it, or you want to get in contact with her, drop me an email and I'll provide her details. But aside from that,
Tim,
Yeah.
could you send me that Living Through Social Revolution thing?
Yeah,
I'd quite like
yeah.
to read that one. Yeah.
Oh,
Also, I think the Refinishers crew now need a book club because I've got about 20 odd books on my list of things to read now.
Oh, do you know when I first started doing that, people started criticising me? That's a funny thing. Because, like you said, you can see I'm an avid reader. I read left, right, and centre. And I have different sections. So this bit over my left shoulder is all my insurance law, contract law, all my magistrate stuff, forensic engineering, all the rest of it. And then this stuff over here is all then personal development, neuro-linguistic programming, emotional intelligence, hypnosis, word weaving. So here's one for you, Jake. Use the words that you use in the context of when you're speaking to people or putting out adverts. I do something which is basically, it's neuro-linguistic programming, but I use certain words in certain ways to influence people to make them want to use me, in short. And it's all about sales. but it's about making people feel passionate about wanting to work with you. So when Jenny was saying about getting up in the morning and feeling empowered and passionate, I can guarantee you, if I've got a face like a smacked arse and you see me first thing in the morning, you're not going to want to work with me or buy any of my products. What do you want? Right. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, right. Well, that's great. You're like, yeah, help you. What can I do for you? Come in. So, oh, you got an issue? Right. Well, normally I charge me time, but if you keep it short, I'll see what I can do for you. All right. Actually, that's an easy one. That I can sort that out in 5 minutes, no problem. That's nice. He's just done it for free. Yeah. But you've not. What you've done is the amount of money that you might have spent on advertising to get the next customer, you've now done something for free, and that person's going to get you another 5 people, 10 people for free based on the 10 minutes you've invested in them. Being smart. Yeah. Being smart, being kind, being nice, putting goodness out into the universe. I'm a firm believer in put goodness out in the universe, it'll never come back. Put shit out there, bite it on the arse. Do
Always
good.
look after the little old ladies.
Yeah.
Because
Maybe
they
we
will
can have a
tell
look
their,
at-
son-in-law, their neighbours, everyone. We've had ones where they just came along and they had like a bent-in bumper that they've just done. Mark went out and just pushed it out for her and went, no, it's fine. It took me 5 minutes. And she came back with a box of biscuits.
Yeah.
But she will go out and tell, everyone she knows, oh, they were really good. They really helped me and they didn't charge me anything.
Yeah. Things. I'll tell you another one. It's more of a personal development thing. If you see something going on where you can help, rather than go past, help. So if you can, do. There's a real reason why there is can do stuff. If you can, do it. If you can't do it, then obviously you can't. But my partner Helen, she thinks I'm mad because of stuff I do. So the other week, where I live is in a rural area. We've got a country road outside of our house. It's quite prone for accidents because it's not far of a single carriageway either way, even though it's 2. And we had a young lady who, her personal backstory you couldn't have made up within the space of a week how shit it was. So if you ever think you're going through some shit in your life, trust me, there's always somebody going through worse shit than what you are. And this lady, she had a 2-year-old kid in the car with her. She had a newborn that was 2 weeks old, and her husband had left her that morning.
Oh my God.
So she's distressed, and she's driving down the road, and some absolute, hang on. So we're going to finish tonight's session there. Thank you a lot for your I'm not yet, don't worry. We're going to finish the night session there. So I think that's a lot for Jenny. That's been fantastic.